want to make sure my face is on the re-edited version from now on, guys. That's my only stipulation.
Hello, everybody. It's deadline day, or is it? Is it for us?
Hello.
Let's talk about it. This could be even shorter than the show I did at lunchtime. Where things are looking. Because how are you, Chris? First of all,
I'm all right, mate. I'm not gonna lie, a little bit under the weather. Got a bit of man flu, but nothing major. But other than that, mate, I'm all good. I think I'm just waiting and hoping in expectation, that we get someone over the line this evening before 11 o'clock. And also, by the way, I was at the game yesterday, so still maybe that's something to do with the man flu actually, because my throat's really sore. But still in a little bit of shock after what happened yesterday. Still a bit gutted over it, even though I am really, really proud of the lads, and I thought we played fantastically well, and we were desperately unlucky to come away with that with nothing. But other than that, all good, mate. How are you?
Grand, yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I took the day off today because my little boy is starting school, so I did a half day at school really. So that's why I took the day off. I said, transfer deadline day. I'll just be watching what's happening anyway. So
gotta be done.
Might as well take the day off and just enjoy it. But not much to enjoy so far. I suppose let's get into it, Chris. We'll start talking about a few things. So we'll revert back to the Liverpool game as well. But I hope everyone in the chat is good as well. But yeah, the big one I suppose is Tielemans and the news that he is starting for Leicester tonight against Man United. So that is a bit of a blow for us, because we were thinking potentially he could be on his way to Newcastle or up in Newcastle or doing something behind closed doors. But no, he's playing tonight, so that rules him out. There's no way he's coming to Newcastle then. And I guess, as you kind of put in the message as well, Chris, potentially he'll have his pick of clubs in the summer. He's going nowhere now. European clubs will be open to him in January, and everyone in the summer then, because he's a free agent, so he can pick his Champions League club after that. But yeah, that's disappointing. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit disappointing, isn't it, Daz? I think we all got our hopes up. We were hearing strong rumours about Tielemans, and let's be honest, Daz. We're screaming out. Well, I say screaming out, but we've all been saying that we'd like a new number 8. That person who's going to sit on the right of the central midfield, or somebody who would sit maybe as number 6, and let Bruno be that number 8. But they're the two positions, and it would be one or the other. And then as soon as Tielemans' name came up, it was like, I think everyone got really excited. What's unusual is that this whole summer, there's not really been that much talk of Tielemans. It's all been dominated by Maddison. And it's only really been in the last couple of weeks that we've been linked with Tielemans properly. So I'm not too disappointed. Don't get me wrong. Getting someone in of his quality would have been fantastic. But equally, it wasn't one of those signs that I was kind of expecting. And in a way, like you've just said then, Daz, as soon as you see him in the lineup, you just think, yeah, it's done. Because obviously this match tonight is going to finish at 10:15. Yeah, and they've got until 11 to get a deal done. Yeah, it's just not, and they wouldn't risk him playing anyway, because if he goes off injured, that's it then, isn't it? So I think Tielemans will be there till at least January, if not the end of the season.
Yeah, and they'll get, if they were to cash in January, they're not going to get much for him either. But yep, look at that's that one. We have to move on. I suppose the other one then is because a name that was linked to us this morning is, and I don't have a picture of him, but Dinis Zakari, and I probably pronounced his name wrong as well.
Zakaria.
Yeah, that guy. So he's a Swiss international even, and he's played 40 times for Switzerland, 3 goals. He's a defensive midfielder. But the news now, it's not really so much that he's linked to us. He's now linked to Chelsea. Chelsea looks to be trying to get a deal done with him. He plays for Juventus. So, but then if that one gets done, there could be a knock-on effect where this man, Conor Gallagher, then may come into the reckoning. Or maybe even Pulisic, who knows? But the Chelsea might be more reluctant to send someone on loan, so or more inclined, I should say, to send someone on loan. So we'll see how that plays out, I suppose, tonight as well. So that's one. Then the only other one, and that I mentioned at lunchtime today as well, is Harrison Ashby. So, and I don't know an awful lot about him apart from what says in his Wikipedia page, really. Right back. He plays for West Ham, obviously, you see him there. He's played for Scotland on 3 occasions and scored 1 goal as well. He's came right through the youth system in Scotland. I think he could have started his career at Chelsea. I suppose, yeah, the idea here would be the cover for Trippier. So that with Emil Kraft doing his ACL in, so it's someone there is backup in the right back spot. I suppose we have Manquillo as well, but it's just another option. And I guess this guy being 20, he would be one for the future as well to be an understudy to Kieran Trippier. So do you know anything about this guy, Harrison Ashby?
I'm not even going to try and pretend to say I do, because I don't. I know a little bit about Dennis Zakaria, so I'll start with him because that's who you mentioned first, as. But he was much in Gladbach, and I liked him. You know, I seen a bit of him, you know, whilst in Germany, and thought he looked decent. I think he was one of those players who was on the rise, and he's like a youngster who's really coming up and, you know, being a big thing. And I didn't actually know. You'll probably remember I spoke about him as ages ago on a transfer show, like literally donkeys ago. Might have even been just as the takeover went through. When I was saying like the kind of player that I'd want us to kind of go for. But yeah, he got to move to Juventus, and it was like, oh well, okay, fair enough. And now the fact that Juventus are willing to let him go out on loan is an interesting one. So and correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be isn't Arthur? He's meant to be going to Liverpool, isn't he?
Yes.
So they're letting 2 central midfielders go, which is interesting. So it makes you wonder whether Juventus are going to be bringing someone in. Who knows? But yeah, Dennis Zakaria would, you know, he would have been a player I would definitely have liked us to get, even on loan. You know, as I say, it sounds like a good deal for Chelsea, but I completely agree with what you're saying. It could be that once Dennis Zakaria comes in for Chelsea, then they'll release Conor Gallagher, and maybe that's. Oh, sorry, I'm knocking my laptop everywhere. Maybe, maybe that's where the Conor Gallagher deal will get the green light. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, the young right back you had on screen then, would you say Harrison Ashby?
Harrison Ashby, yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I really don't know much about him. But again, it goes back to what we were saying a few weeks ago, Daz, you know, when we're linked with these young prospects, if you like, especially English ones, and you know, you know that the research will have been done. You know that the likes of Ashworth and Howe and stuff like that, they'll know a lot about these players. So the fact that we've been linked with them and the fact we're going for them, yeah, I think it'd be good. Again, I know I keep saying this. Weeks and weeks and weeks ago, we were talking about not really needing any backup for the right back position because we had Kraft and Manquillo. Now the Kraft's injured for seemingly the whole season or nearly all of the season. It could be that maybe this lad's going to come in. Possibly Manquillo's on his way out. Possibly Fernandez is on his way out. Matty Longstaff, has he been confirmed as out? But I know he's in talks with Barnsley.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard at lunchtime. But no, it's changed from what I read on Twitter. So hopefully Twitter is accurate, and it's coming from Colchester United official page. So I presume it's true. It looks like he's gone to Colchester. So it's on loan until January. So it does look like then the Barnsley deal fell through, because there was talk that the Barnsley one was for a loan with the option to buy, I imagine. But so this looks more like a short-term gig, and then reassess it in January, see where he is. So yeah, that's where Matty Longstaff looks to be going. Unless someone in the chat corrects me, that looks like the way. And we have a special guest joining us. His glass was full, so let's get him on. Here he is. Hey, Pete.
There's the man. There's the man.
Evening all.
Evening, mate.
Evening, Pete. Evening, Pete.
Sorry for my lateness. My daughter's at football training, so I had to make sure I had to do that one. But yeah, how are we all, boys? Are we okay?
All good, Pete.
Yeah, not bad.
Apart from Tielemans starting, ruined my night.
I'll be honest with you, guys. I always thought if I didn't wake up to news that Tielemans was close, I didn't think it was going to happen. A bit like the Ekitike. I know Ekitike didn't go through in January, but we woke up to news that a deal was agreed. And then it was a case of, is he coming to Newcastle? Is he not? It had to be that with Tielemans this morning. It had to be deal agreed. He's on his way to Newcastle, medical, all that stuff, for it to happen tonight. So I didn't expect it, unfortunately. And yeah, so it's disappointing because I think it'd have been a really, really good signing. But I've got a feeling that he just wants Champions League football, which was said at the beginning of the summer, to be fair. He did make it clear at the beginning of the summer. I just think he wants Champions League football, and he's prepared to stay at Leicester in his comfort zone for another year to get that big payday and that big move to a Champions League club. Now, we could be that Champions League club. I don't know, but I very much doubt it this season. But yeah, I don't see Youri Tielemans now coming to Newcastle at any point, even in January or next season.
Yeah. So Pete, we had nearly gone through all the potential links that could potentially happen, or is it done already? But what is your thoughts? Because I wasn't been talking to you all day, really. You've been busy working and stuff. But do you think there's the potential for anyone to rock up at Newcastle before 11 o'clock?
Yeah, I do. I think there's an opportunity. It'll be a loan. It won't be a permanent deal. With this Dennis Sakara deal, I don't know if you've talked about it. With that deal potentially going through, and it looks like it has. It looks like it's been agreed. Conor Gallagher looks like a good option.
Yeah.
He isn't going to play many minutes at Chelsea the way it is right now. And I'll be honest, the 2 yellow cards at the weekend haven't helped him at all in terms of his career at Chelsea. But with Dennis Sakara coming in, it just says to me that he's going to play even less, so he needs to move on. Now, the question what we've all got right now, and it's been talked about, that I think is there's been a lot of conversations about he doesn't want to move out of London. Are we going to be able to convince someone like him to move out of London on short notice? Possible, but I think that for me is our most likely still. I don't know what you boys think.
That's what we're just actually saying, Pete. That looks the most potential for to happen. That and the Harrison Ashby, that one that was being talked about by Keith Downey during the day. Those two look like our only game left in there for tonight, really, I think. But
yeah, it's a shame, really, because there are still some decent players out there. Arthur Melo, who's about to go to, I think he's about to go to Liverpool. He'd been available for ages. He's a good player, very good player. So there's a few others out there that teams are going for. Teams are bidding crazy. I don't know what you think, and this is not Newcastle related, and I don't get it. Like, you've got Arsenal battling for 25 million for Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. I don't see it. I don't see
it.
What the fuss is. Like, if Villa are getting rid of him, and Villa are shocking at the moment, and Villa don't want him, why are Arsenal wanting him? I don't see the specialness about him, especially to bid 25 million. That's the same as Tielemans. It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. I don't get it
either. The Arsenal upped it from 20 to 25 during the day. Why not just take Tielemans now?
That's it. It's mad. It just baffles me. It really does. I don't see it. I don't see the ability. He's got a decent long shot to his game, but he has a little bit of tenacity. But I don't think his stats really hold up very well. I don't see the fuss about him. But there are some other players out there, and you got to remember, although we don't expect a deal to come through, this is Newcastle, and we didn't expect last week to have Alexander, the beautiful Alexander Isaac signing for us. So yeah, who knows? Anything's possible.
So you're saying there's a chance. I don't know. I think they would be more organised than have left at this stage. But yeah, as George Calkin said this morning, like calls will go in during the day today, and
Yeah.
it might something might crop up, and it could be the domino effect. The domino effect hasn't really worked for us during the day, so maybe it might turn. So let's the practical situation there. Let's say they're open to sending Conor Gallagher on loan. So I imagine that a medical would take place in London straight away, or could they look at postponing the medical till tomorrow, kind of thing? I know, and just doing the deal anyway, and on some kind of caveat.
I think, I mean, obviously, I'm no expert on this, Daz, but I think, it's relatively easy to be able to set up a medical whenever you want one. Normally, they do the medical in Newcastle. Because we've still got, 3.5 hours left of the window, I think it'd be quite easy, for a private jet, especially if it was someone in the Premier League, because it'd be quite easy to, fly someone over. Or, rather than getting the player to come to Newcastle, representatives could go and meet the player wherever they are. And go and get the deal done. And again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think you can sign a player as well, subject to medicals and everything going through. So the paperwork's got to be in before 11, but as long as it's completed by, say, I don't know whether they give them a couple of hours later or whether it's just it's got to be done as soon as possible. But as long as those initial papers are in by 11, because that's why sometimes we all wait up till 11 o'clock and we're like, oh, the window's shut, and it goes dung dung, and then like you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh,
what happened?
Where did he come from? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think there is still like an extension of time, as long as that agreement's in place between the clubs, and as long as contracts have been exchanged and fees have been agreed, etc., etc. I think there is still a little window for you to be able to kind of push a deal through. That's my understanding, anyway.
You mean like Klopp time? This is the new equivalent of Fergie time.
You could say so. You could say so. Yeah.
Don't talk about that.
Sorry.
He's a prick. Absolute prick. Sorry. Lost all respect for him. After that, I genuinely have. He's not the same guy he was 4 years ago. He's gone down in my estimations big time. But do you remember that transfer window where we signed like Olivier Bernard back for like the third time, and it only came through at like 7 in the morning, 7 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
I remember like he didn't even, and I mean this is years ago now, but he didn't even have a medical. He had the medical the next day, and actually that you made a really good point, Chris, because with loans, and actually Simon, our sponsors put it in the chat. Yeah. Loan medicals are different to permanent signing, so we could actually just get the paperwork done, and we can fly Conor Gallagher up the next day for the medical then, and get that done and see it through. Or Chelsea can do the medical. Oh
no! Well, I got to be flashing that breaking news on any little thing. So we've got a text from Martin saying that there's talks ongoing with relation to Gallagher. So Martin is usually has his fingers on the pulse. So I don't know where he's getting that from, but that's what he's saying. So there is hope. There's hope.
I love Martin's little breaking news, especially it just fills us with so much hope, and I don't know whether he's doing it just to crush us afterwards.
Hey, you want to hear Richie's news to me today? He had 3 private planes landing in Newcastle, and he talks of Tillman's being there the night before, and all these. And one coming from Leverkusen or something like that. I was like, no. Well, I was like, I'm glad we don't go out with those kind of stories when it's just kind of rumors. But I don't think it was in any of those, obviously. But
I love the plane spotters, though. I'm not gonna lie, I love them.
It fills you with so much excitement, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, exactly.
I remember the takeover stuff. Like in my mind, well, I'd be verbalizing. I'd be like, yeah, bullshit. But in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, it could be. It could be.
Yeah. Every day was like that. Yeah. But if this happened, this might happen. Yeah. Joining all the dots every day.
But the loan, we with a loan deal, we could get to 10 o'clock. We could get to 10 o'clock tonight, an hour before the window, and we could and it could be Newcastle have agreed a loan deal for such and such, paperwork going through, and it could be that, and medicals and everything can come afterwards, or they could have already had the medical with their club. So Gallagher could have had that medical with his Chelsea physios. They send the information over to Newcastle, and he flies up and signs the deal and all the rest of it. So there's still an opportunity there, and I think I don't know if I'm wrong. It was a few hours ago that Pete Graves or Keith Downey was saying that there's a couple of things bubbling away. So
that
looking
Pete Graves.
But Pete Graves, the difference and between them is funny, because Pete Graves is keeps you on your seat, and is just a total fan, engaged and everything, like us, just hoping and praying and putting two and two together as well. Whereas Keith Downey is he's Ashby's off, so one of our two possibilities gone already. Thanks, Adam.
To be fair, I have no idea who the guy is.
No, we said that before, Pete. Don't have to know anything about him.
I'm not being funny. Like, we've got Manquillo there as a backup. Like, I'll take that. Like, let's face it. Like, we're moving forward as a squad. We're moving forward. We're getting players out that we want out. But let's face it. Manquillo has always come in and never let us down.
Yeah, I agree. Right or left.
He can play in both positions, like you said. And he's not our first choice, far from it. But he never moans. He never calls for a move. He never bangs on the door and says, "I want to be playing." Blah blah blah. He's just happy to be there. Loves to be in the squad, especially with the South American, the Spanish speaking contingent in there as well. He's just happy to be there, and he can be a more than adequate backup. But what it does, it puts more pressure on Trippier to look after himself, to make sure that he's fit and playing every game. If he plays as well as he does, and he has been this season, we won't need a backup. We won't need someone to come in and replace him. So it's all good.
We've got our two sources on that one as well. Richie's put it in the chat as well, and that's what I was just going to say about Keith Downey. Keith Downey doesn't say anything unless he's got so many sources. He's like 75% certain that something could happen. Well, this is one of the ones that he mentioned. So, and it's been ruled out by West Ham. I know they had a bid rejected as well for I think either went to Villa, whoever it was, the guy from Southampton. So that scuppered their chances as well.
You know what? Dendoncker.
Yeah.
Why didn't we go for him?
13 million. Good, isn't it? I've just seen it. Yeah.
He's a good. So is he been? Who's he gone to? Has he gone to Villa?
He's going to Villa, and Villa were getting 25 for Luis.
Oh, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's exactly what we need. That holding. Yeah. I don't know why I'm going like that. That holding player who can just hold, and then let Bruno go up a bit. Be lovely. Yeah, that's it.
That's kind of what
ended up playing.
That's what Pep does. That's what Pep does.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Like, I'll be honest, I was surprised when he even went to Wolves in the first place. Dendoncker, he's a good player. He does his job really, really well. He can play centre back as well. He can cover in centre back. Can play midfield. Good in the air. Good tackler. 15 million. Is it 15 million or a bit more?
13. 13.
That's even worse. Again, but I don't know. We're not the ones making the decisions. Maybe they're laughing at us now, because we all know that Newcastle and Eddie Howe are friends of the channel, and they're probably watching the show right now. How you doing, Eddie? Maybe they're laughing at us and saying we're looking at better right now. Don't worry about it.
How?
Who knows? Yeah, Howe.
No other channel has a salute like that for Eddie. But maybe we'll talk about a few of the outgoings as well. So one that went through area, I'm going to go Lucas Debauchery. He is gone to Hamilton. So he signed a new 2-year contract, and then he went on loan to Hamilton. So that is one good, get some game time, and no harm in that. and he was getting on the bench there in the last season. So yeah, no harm. Fumby with I don't know about Paqueta. Nope, not this window.
You know what? You know what?
Or West Ham.
I've caught up just as I got back with some of the chat with those boys. He's been on the wind up. He's been doing this all day. Yeah, just putting little pop shots in there. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. Oh my god! I think he put in there. Oh, apparently we're in talks with something. No one. He put in there earlier on today, which got a few laughs. I've just caught up with it now, but yeah, he's a good guy. He makes me laugh.
This is do you know what though? This is what the window's all about, isn't it? Because if you a few people have said it in the chat. If you rewind let's say 2 years ago, if the channel existed then, we'd all be sat here just like under Ashley, just going, nothing's going to happen. In fact, was it last season where they were outside and the reporter was outside St James's Park at the gate, and he was like, "Yeah, it's shut. No one's here."
Yeah,
we were sitting there. We were thinking, "What are we even doing here? It's pointless." Daz has flashed up breaking news, and I know that I'm still talking, but I have a feeling Daz might have froze.
He's put in the same pose for
that poker face
for 30 seconds for the whole time you were talking. So I was waiting for him to come in, which is why I didn't say anything. But I've got a feeling, and I don't want to steal his thunder. I've got a feeling I know what it is that he's going to be saying, because there has been another outgoing from Newcastle United, and it's just been confirmed by the club that Kel Watts has signed for Peterborough United on loan.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's for the rest of the season. I'll just take a look now. What's interesting about that is Kel Watts had a bad injury. It's a loan till January. Actually, he had a bad injury. Obviously during the pre-season. Thank you, Anthony. Give us a subscribe. Great to have you part of the channel. Brilliant stuff for joining us tonight. Kel Watts, he's joined for until January. Had a bad injury with his knee. Was on crutches. He's still got 4 weeks of his recovery left. So he's still got 4 weeks of his recovery left, but they've got the loan deal sorted. And so he's going there. He'll obviously continue his rehabilitation and then play for them. It's not a bad move for him. It's a good move. Good move for Kel Watts. Obviously, I think he did well. I think he got Wigan promoted last season. He did a great job in getting them into the Championship, if I'm right.
Yeah, was it Wigan? I think it was Wigan, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he's got previous in terms of getting that. So yeah, fair play to him. He's done a good job there. Someone put in there about Shane Ferguson. Jesus Christ.
It was like goals.
I forgot that name.
Yeah.
Oh God, don't remind me of that. Bloody hell.
Fumby's kicked everyone off. Everyone's off now, aren't they?
What? Yeah, I bet. This is what he does. He comes in, he just gets his rod, puts it in there, and then just disappears. But fair play to him. But there's been some update from Craig Hope. Apparently, he said that the reply from West Ham was a no for Harrison Ashby. They don't want to let him go. Now, I think if it was another club, if it was a Fulham, if it was another team that are down the bottom of the league, a Forest or someone like that, I think they would have let Harrison Ashby go. The fact that it's Newcastle and the fact that they know that they're going to be in and around the same sort of positions as Newcastle is going to affect whether Harrison Ashby leaves the club. Now, Harrison Ashby has less than a year left on his contract. He hasn't got a lot left on his deal. Right. So there was a cheap fee available there, or potential with a loan with a view to buy if things kind of move forward. So I think personally, it's West Ham just not wanting to deal with Newcastle. And I don't think it'll be the first time, and it won't be the last. So I would chalk that one off. That deal doesn't look like it's going to happen at all, to be honest. But yeah, we keep moving on. Chris, I don't know I heard something about Lucas Moura. I think I dropped it in the chat when I was on my
you
break
did.
earlier on today from work, and nothing come of that at all. Nothing. Everything gone silent.
Yeah, I heard earlier on. I heard earlier on that Tottenham didn't want to loan him out. So whether or not that means they want a permanent deal, I don't know. But yeah, apparently they don't want to loan him out, which is fair enough. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be quite happy if we got Lucas Moura in. I do like Lucas Moura. But you know what? It's one of those, isn't it? I think we'll struggle getting loan deals from any of the top six, and the most likely is probably Chelsea because they've got an abundance of players. But anybody else, I think we'd struggle because I just don't think, especially, they'll be looking now at that Man City performance and that Liverpool performance, and they'll all be thinking, we're not helping these out. No way. Anything that could potentially strengthen us, I just don't think they'll do. Pete, Gary Millican's just put something in the chat, and weirdly, I thought of you when I seen this because I thought you'll appreciate that. What did you think on Danny Rose?
Oh
Watford have
my
shifted him out
god!
now. Everyone's shifted him out.
Yeah, honestly, I did chuckle to myself a little bit when I saw that deal. I'm not surprised. I can't remember the last time I kicked a ball for Watford. But look, isn't that just the mark of what we know with regards to Danny Rose? His stock has fallen massively, and I think we really saw that at Newcastle. He had moments where he had some good games. He had 1 or 2 good games for us where he looked like he was at the level that we thought he was when he was at England. But then the vast majority of the time, he was about a real poor standard. And look, let's face it, when he left Tottenham, he didn't have many options.
No.
Not many players, not many clubs wanted to take a chance on the player, to be fair. And going to Watford, if you can't, I'm not being funny, but if you can't play regularly for Watford in the Championship, in the Premier League, then in the Championship, that tells you where you're at in your career.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's only going one way. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if he retires.
Yeah, me too. I think he's earned his money, hasn't he, Pete? He's earned his money. I don't think he's just bothered. We kind of saw that a little bit at Newcastle. I mean, it just goes to show, though, doesn't it? For me, anyway. After that Tottenham documentary came out, was it all or nothing? Mourinho was getting a lot of hate, wasn't he, from certain sections of fans, and they were going, why has he got rid of Danny Rose and why has he got rid of Dele Alli? And it's like, obviously he saw it, didn't he? He saw it, he knew. And I think he had the same problem at Man United. I think there's a lot of Man United players there, and he probably saw the same thing. He's training with them day in, day out, and he must see and go, you know what, they're done. But he doesn't want to come out and say that in so many words. But we've already seen since Ten Hag's come in.
Yeah,
Luke Shaw's disappeared.
He won't last. That Valencia, he's a good player.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can really tell the difference when Valencia plays and when Luke Shaw plays. They are like polar opposites. He is a proper defender, that Valencia, and he has made things absolutely solid. You know who he reminds me of? He's a better version of this, but can you remember last season when I was bigging up Tyreek Mitchell from Palace? I love that guy. When I went to Selhurst Park last season, I watched him and he really surprised me. He's a proper defender. He can get forward, but he's a proper defender. Obviously, he's had an England cap since. Proper defender. But that Valencia reminds me of him. He's a real good defender. You don't see him get forward like Shaw and the overlapping and balls in and all that business. He doesn't do all that. But what you don't get is you don't get beat in behind. Like Shaw gets.
He's got that pace, and he's got that pace, and he's
positional wise, he's just intelligent. Defensively, he knows where to go. Yeah. And I think Ten Hag will take that at this moment in time rather than someone that's bombing on all the time. But yeah, Luke Shaw, I don't personally, I wouldn't take him at Newcastle. No. I think he's really past his best. But he could find himself shipped out at Man United if they end up going in the right direction, because he's fallen off the pace massively.
I mean, do you know what, Pete? And I know we're going to touch on this, and we'll wait properly if you want till Daz comes back, because I am really interested to speak to you both about the match last night. And I know, I know it's not you know, it still probably hurts and everything like that. But it's interesting because, especially last night for me, you know, and I think you've been the same, Pete, that like we've been defenders of Chris Wood. And you know, I think he did a job for us last season. He kept us up. I thought he did really well. You know, he tried his hardest. And every time I see him this season, he's trying his hardest, but he's not mobile enough. And I think now the Premier League's got to a point where you need players who are mobile. You need players who give 110%. Our pressing game last night was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It was literally non-stop all the time. You know, one would go, the other would go, and they'd all be looking at each other, and like you'd see them waving as if to say, right, I'm going, you're coming too. And players like Luke Shaw, you can't get away with that anymore. You can't get away with just playing left back and bombing on occasionally and then coming back when you're ready. And like you were just talking then about Malaysia and about Tariq Mitchell, the all action, the fit lads, the really, really fit lads, and they can get up and down. At the moment, they're plying the trade. They're only young. In a couple of years' time, you know, who's to say you know, they can't kick on, they can't push on once they're experienced and once they've, you know, had that 2, 3, 4 years under the belt in the Premier League. You'll probably find that the manager trusts them a bit more and goes, right, go forwards when you're ready, when you know this happens, you go. But at the moment, they're probably saying just learn your position, learn your trade, and we'll worry about that later on. But you know, they're reaping the rewards. Crystal Palace now under Vieira are looking like a good side. But again, it goes back to he's got a team full of runners. They constantly press, and this is what we're seeing now in the Premier League. And that's why I think Eddie Howe, in particular, is looking at certain players and being like, I need runners. And the reason I'm going back to my Chris Wood comment is as soon as Isak went off, the game turned like that.
Yeah.
The game just turned. One player and the game turned. We didn't have that focal point at the top. And Chris Wood is trying. I'm not saying he wasn't trying, but he's not mobile enough. And that's the issue.
I don't disagree with the move. It's the one time. It's the one time where when Alexander Isak got subbed, I actually was like, yeah, good move. So I didn't disagree with the move at all because Isak had already done his bit.
Yeah,
he got his goal. He looked
his debut.
He looked dangerous. Yeah. What Eddie Howe has basically done? He's basically gone right. Yeah, he's our man. He's our man. We need to protect him.
Yeah, it's done.
He wants him ready for Palace. He wants
Absolutely.
to unleash him at St James's Park.
Absolutely.
And give him. He'll probably get the full 90 minutes against Palace, and that's why he's saving him for that. So I understood why he did it, but you're absolutely right. The level of quality just drops down. But look, Chris, we said this from after the January window, even when like he first started playing for us, is that, you know, if Chris Woods keeps us in the league, that's job done.
Yeah.
You know, great service. You've done your bit. You've done exactly what we signed you for. We overpaid for you, but you've done your job. Move on. Like that's the situation, and if I'm right in thinking, there's been a bit of interest in Chris Wood today.
Well, this is the next thing I was going to go on to. Yeah, so apparently we've rejected a few approaches for Chris Wood, and to me, that would indicate that we haven't got anyone lined up as a backup, or there's no one there who we can do the deal for. Because I think if we had someone ready, someone who, you know, was on the radar, somebody who maybe was, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 million, I think they'd do it. Because I don't know, even the likes of João Pedro. Now, João Pedro's come out, hasn't he, and said he's happy at Watford, he's staying at Watford, blah, 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 blah. And it just makes you wonder whether, you know, we've kind of stalled on the deal. We've got Isak in, and then maybe we've gone back to Watford or back to João Pedro, and they've gone, nah, I'm staying now. I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to leave it. Or maybe the club have turned around and went, you know what, we'll come back in the January. We'll come back in next summer. You know what I mean? Going, who knows? But I think, me personally, if there was a backup, I'd take 10, 15 million for Chris Wood. I really would, because I don't think going forward he's an option. I really don't. We saw it yesterday, Pete. We've seen it in other games. We've changed the way we play our football now. It's no longer, just hoof it up to him. We don't play like that, and I think it slows everybody down. And that's no offense to Chris Wood. I'm not knocking Chris Wood at all, but it's like if you stuck Chris Wood up front for City, it just wouldn't work. If you stuck him up front for Liverpool, it wouldn't work. They're too fluid, they're too quick. Imagine having Luis Diaz and Salah, you know, buzzing around the wing, and then the ball comes in. Chris Wood's like, shit, I've got to get there.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. He's not mobile enough.
It's an old style football. Banging it up to that target man and just not being fast, but just being able to be big and strong and hold up the ball. It's an old style. It's a Burnley style. It's kind of 5, even 10 years ago where a player would be really effective playing that way. It's perfect for the Championship, which I think is why a lot of teams have been interested in him. And this is why he went to Tranmere and managed to get his goal the way he did, because below the Premier League, that's still the way they play.
Mm-hmm.
That's still 4, 5, 6, 7 years behind the Premier League in terms of its development and how it kind of is already evolved. And that's why a lot of teams that get promoted, they struggle. They'll start really well, but then they'll slip again because they can't evolve completely with the Premier League in the way in which it's played. Chris Wood, his next move should be to the Championship, because I think he'd go to the Championship and score 20 plus goals because of the type of football that's played there. But it's not right for Newcastle and it's not right for the Premier League. You're absolutely right. I think if there was someone like Emmanuel Dennis, who it's baffling that he still hasn't played any minutes for Forest since he signed.
I think he came on against City. I watched the highlights last night, and I'm sure it was him who come on. Only for a cameo though.
Yeah, I think he's only had cameo since he went there, and Emmanuel Dennis is not a bad striker, but he would have been a perfect. Yeah, okay, we'll move Chris Wood on, and we'll get someone like him in, a mobile striker that can play off the wing, but mostly down the middle, and probably would have been comfortable just being that backup. If he's comfortable being on the bench for Forest, he'd have been comfortable being on the bench for Newcastle and coming on and doing a bit here and there. So that would have been the perfect option. But look, it's not happened. But Alexander Isak will ensure that is a perfect situation for us, in that we are in an. Oh, what was that?
Conor Gallagher. So Andrew Malloy says Conor Gallagher loan with 30 million buy clause, and that's as per the Athletic.
Is that for Newcastle though?
I would imagine so, if it's in the Athletic. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe that's the deal with it. Excuse me. Maybe that's the deal with exploring.
Interesting. Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. But yeah, I just think, Chris Wood needs to move on. I think it would have been perfect to move him on now, but I think he'll move on. I think he'll go in January, and we'll look to strengthen there. João Pedro, I think João Pedro is gutted that he didn't get the move to Newcastle. I think it's Watford that stopped him moving because they can't get a replacement in time, which is why I think they tried for Chris Wood. I think Chris Wood would have been a good deal. Getting Chris Wood in and then being in a position, hey, here he is.
Breaking news.
Fucking hell. I saw that you that's exactly what I was going to say, Pete. About 15 minutes ago, the kilowatt thing. But I sent you a fact. You not get it? I couldn't get back on. I sent you a fact. No, never mind.
You say facts? I'm with you now. I was going to go, well, you know, facts. I'm with you.
An old
fax machine's off, Daz.
Facts. I was thinking, are we back 15 years ago? Oh, brilliant. But yeah, look, Chris Wood, I think he'll go in January. I think he'll move on. And I actually think we'll probably get another forward or a winger stroke striker in January. I think that's probably what we're now using. We're going to probably use those funds for if we don't get someone on loan. But let's face it, we haven't got anyone on loan. So if I'm right in thinking, I think Ritty said a couple of weeks ago, we can get 2 loans in the Premier League. So we've got the opportunity in January to, if we don't get a loan tonight, which there's still a chance we can get, if we don't get a loan tonight, we can get 2 in January and have some money available for a permanent signing or 2. So it's not the worst thing in the world. And as we knew last season in January, there are always players available in January if you've got the money and you're in a good position. And if we're sitting in the top half of the table looking at potentially fighting for Europe, that would attract a lot more players to come to Newcastle. There's no doubt about it. So it's not the worst thing in the world. But look, let's be positive. There's still talk about Gallagher, and there could well be a surprise here. So let's hope that something gets pulled out the bag from Eddie in the gang.
So I guess, guys, you were talking about the wood potentially that came up during the day, wood to Watford topic. Yeah, because I was onto the do not scratch your eyes, guys, the Watford guys, and I tag them into that. And they're going no after all the talk about their last week. So it was funny.
Guys, we were gonna talk about the game last night. I know we said we'd talk about the game, but we wanted to wait for Pete. Do you know what? I'm really interested to hear your guys' opinions because obviously, as you know, I was there, and I've got my own opinions on what I saw and what my thoughts. But as you know, it can be a different game watching at home as it can be when you're there. And obviously, you don't have the luxury of seeing replays and stuff. So, like for example, Isak's second goal. It was weird because everyone celebrated it, but like it was almost like a half celebration. So you knew that it was going to get chalked off. Must be because we saw the linesman's flag. But it was only after the game did I see how close it was. So yeah, let me know your thoughts anyway on the game last night and how you felt about it and what your pluses were, what your minuses were, and whatnot.
I was streaming the game because I'm not paying for BT this year. I was going to pay for Sky Sports, so it was like the internet tonight. It was a bit on off, but the second goal I thought it should have stood, and even that picture that was going around today of that where the line was drawn. I thought it had a better chance of they obviously went to VAR and ruled it out, but it did look that he was level at the time. But yeah, it was a great performance all around. We were just robbed at the end, really, Chris. And great to see Isak score his first goal for us. I was there. Oh, I know we're not doing a review show, but if we're doing a review show and if we won that game, I was giving 10 to everybody because they all played really well. And I was probably going to give for the crack. I was going to give Joe Willock man of the match because he did all right, and I have to stay on my bit over the while. So I was just for the crack. I was going to give him man of the match, but yeah, just robbed at the end. And my Liverpool friends were on texting before the game, and they were quiet during the game. But yeah, they found the will to text after the game as well. So that was nice.
Yeah, no, I had a similar experience. That's got to be honest.
It was a disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace. I'm sorry. I'm still not over it, and I don't think I will be. We should have won. We probably should have won that game, but we should have at least took a point, in my opinion. For me, we were in a position where we were stopping their flow. We were in a position where they didn't have another option. They were struggling. And that what baffles me is that offside. The offside. They only show one angle. The angle is right up in the gods. And it's not even level where you can properly see down the line. You don't see the lines being drawn. You don't see the official offside ruling. How they judge that from that angle, I have no idea. It doesn't make sense. So for me, it just all seems a little bit bullshit, if I'm honest. And if that was the other way around, I don't see how they don't give that as a goal. I just don't. But it is what it is. But Liverpool were rattled. They were rattled for the first time in a long time. They were rattled, and I think there's a realization that of two things. One thing, they realised that Newcastle are coming and we're getting better, and we're not going to be a Bournemouth that are just going to roll over and just allow them to score 3-4 goals like we have done in the past. But equally, it's a realization that they're not as good as what they used to be. And yes, they won the game by luck, but actually the quality of their performance, I think, is what frustrated and what angered Jurgen Klopp more than anything, is the fact that they weren't able to go to a team like Newcastle and dominate and score 3 or 4 goals and make it and off the back of the fact that they got a draw against Palace at home and the fact that they struggled against Newcastle, what it tells them is that they're not going to have this 95-point season. again, like they expect, where they're going to lose or drop points very like sparingly across the season. I think Liverpool are going to lose a lot more points off the back of that because they don't look like the team that they were 2 or 3 years ago. And I think there's a realization from Jurgen Klopp that they are not where he wanted them to be. Now, Diaz and Darwin Núñez, Darwin Núñez will come back in and I'm sure he'll score goals, but those performances will still continue. Those performances will still happen with Liverpool this season. And if if Man City are as consistent as what they are right now, and Haaland's running wild, which I fully expected anyway, because he's elite, they might not even finish in the top 2 this season.
Yeah. Do you know what, Pete? I think that's fair. Rich, welcome by the way. Good to see you, mate. Can we have a little look at that goal tie, please?
I don't understand where everyone else is.
Love that.
Where's everyone else is at?
I know.
You didn't send that in the
I seen the
memo,
gold tie and I was like, I should have put the gold tie on, man. Yeah.
You noticed. Well done,
We're not
Richie.
taking off.
Yeah.
No.
No, Rich, you should keep it.
Leave the shirt on, Richie. Leave the shirt on.
That's staying on. Don't worry about it. We want to keep our viewers.
Do you know what? I don't want to go on too much about the game last night. I was just interested to hear your thoughts, and obviously, Richie, I want to hear yours as well. But yeah, Pete and Daz, like what you've just said there, I saw something that I haven't seen in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, whatever. Like we turned up yesterday, and it was weird because at full time, like it reminded me of last season against Everton when Iwobi scored. Iwobi scored in the 97th, 98th minute.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I was really disappointed and I was really gutted. And I am still gutted and disappointed, but it just felt different. And it felt exactly the same last night as it did at Everton last season because I had this disappointment, but I was looking at all the fans celebrating and, giving the V's and they were buzzing and like they just won a trophy or something. But I've not seen that reaction from Liverpool fans. Normally with Liverpool fans, they're quite smug. They look down at us. Last night, they weren't looking down at us. Last night, it was like we were Man City, in terms of that's how much it meant to them. For the first 60 minutes of the game, I think we had pretty much control of the game. As soon as they scored that equaliser, you could see the panic in our team. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we were talking earlier about Wood, and I think heads kind of went down a little bit when Isak went off. And clearly the press wasn't working as well as it was previously with Isak there. Joe Willock, absolutely fantastic. Daz, like you said, I thought Joe Willock ran his socks off yesterday. He was absolutely superb. And do you know what makes it even more special or even more like palatable for me is that we done what we did yesterday. There was no Botman. There was no St. Maximin. There was no Bruno. There was no Wilson. And like, I must admit, when I seen that lineup, I was quite happy with Miggy and Fraser up top and obviously delighted to see Isak. I thought Sean Longstaff would probably improve based on what we saw at Wolves. I thought he'd probably put in a better performance, which he did. But when I saw Lascelles and Byrne, I was just like, what? Like, where's this come from? And again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and Richie jump in, about this. But my initial thought was, this shows that Eddie Howe's preparing for every single game. Eddie Howe's looking at this and he's thinking, right, we're gonna be up against it tonight. But he's giving other players opportunities, and I feel like, he's you could say he's rested Shaw and Botman, but maybe he's seen something different and he's thought, maybe we need to be a little bit more rigid, and having the likes of Byrne and Lascelles together, obviously they've played together before, but they're a lot more steadier, if you like, whereas Botman and Shaw are looking, for those passes through the middle, and they're a lot more silkier on the ball. And I just wonder whether Eddie Howe was thinking, you know what, our points are at the Palace game. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall will have looked at that game and thought, bloody hell, we've done far better than I thought we would there. Because like I say, that first hour, I thought we were absolutely superb. I really, really did. And I was dead proud. And like I say, when the equaliser come in and then it was backs to the wall and then they scored, honestly, the Liverpool fans, because I was right on the corner at the away end, and the Liverpool fans, when they were looking over, it was like they were baying for blood. It was like they were that buzzing, that made up. And I thought, that's because we're coming. That's because we're missing some of our best players and we're still giving you a game. And I think Pete's right. I think they've run out of energy. I think that's why Klopp was so animated. Even in the post match, what was it Klopp said? oh yeah, the game Newcastle played, with all the men behind the ball, and it's like, sorry, what game were you watching? It wasn't that at all. First 60 minutes, we took the game to you. We scored a fantastic goal, lovely through ball from Sean Longstaff, and then that goal that was disallowed, Isak just put two of your centre halves on their backside, mate. So I don't know what game you were watching, because we were very much on top. Yeah, it was a bit backs against the wall towards the end, but that's with the home crowd firing. They just got the equaliser. But I was thinking to myself, if Bruno was playing, if Maxi was playing, I reckon we'd have won that game. Genuinely think we would have won that game. And one thing I will say as well, by the way, to give Liverpool a bit of credit, I thought Harvey Elliott was outstanding. That's the best I've seen him play. And I thought, they've got some player on their hands there. But doesn't it go to show, Harvey Elliott, he basically carried that team yesterday. Mo Salah, that's like the fourth game I've seen him now, Mo Salah. And if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be majorly worried, because they've chucked all their eggs in one basket with Mo Salah, and Mane's gone to Bayern, and Mo Salah doesn't look the same player to me. And Pete's mentioning Haaland, so I think City will maul Liverpool. I really, really do. Based on what I've seen, I don't think it's a contest this season. I think City will comfortably win the title. Anyway, sorry, go on, Mitch. I'll finish my rant now.
I don't know. Where do you want me to jump in on all that?
Yeah, just wanted your opinion on the match yesterday, mate. I was saying to Daz and Pete earlier before you joined. Obviously, I was at the match, so slightly different views, slightly different opinions. But I was interested to see, because obviously you've all seen the goals back. You've got the commentary. You hear it slightly different, don't you? And you see it slightly different. So I was just interested to see what you thought.
Chris, were you at the Everton game as well? Where we
yeah, he was.
So you're
the Iwobi, yeah.
You're the problem there. Both those games. You used to stop one of those games.
I know. And it's funny as well, because I said we always score first at Anfield, and I was saying it to my lads. I was going, we'll score tonight first, even though in my head I was thinking we're not going to score. And then Isak scored, couldn't believe it, and then we went on to lose. It's just, but it won't always be like this, boys. It won't always be like this.
No. Building.
Richie, I think if you go back to at the start of the match last night, obviously before we move on and stuff, I think I put in our chat, I would have took anything out of that game last night when you saw the team sheet. I was surprised he made 2 changes at centre half. I thought, if you're going to rest one, possibly you rest one, and then just to keep a bit of continuity sort of thing within the back four. But to be fair, if you look at it was pretty much the back four for the end of the season anyway. Bar for Lascelles and Shaw, it's pretty much only swapping one over really. So obviously I was with Martin last night, as you know, you got the picture last night, and Martin goes, "Well, you know what my thoughts are on Lascelles," straight away as we were sitting down and stuff like that. So obviously it was we were looking at that, and to be fair, it was an interesting one, because the first up until we scored, I don't know if anyone else noticed as well. I didn't think we pressed very hard to start with. It was quite a relaxed press that we had, but then as soon as we went one ahead, the press went up a notch straight away from the front three. They were all over just to put extra pressure on the back and the back four. The midfielders pushing up higher as well. There was a lot more urgency to get that ball straight back once we were ahead, and it was funny because once they equalised, the press dropped again, and that's when Eddie Howe started to make the changes, thinking, well, right, okay, perhaps we need to get take a bit of pressure off us, get the ball up to someone like Wood and relax. But as soon as he did that, as I've been listening before what you were saying, but Wood offered nothing. Literally last night, he offered nothing at all. He pretty much carried on from what me and Daz were talking about from the Wolves game the other day when we were talking about it on the review show. He offered nothing at all last night. He's just static, and it was like, if you go back to, Pete will probably understand this from grassroots, when you talk about grassroots junior football. Chris Wood, at some point, even last night, he was coming out towards the sidelines, and he was like a footballer learned to play football for the first time. He was just trying to chase the ball to get involved a little bit, and it was like it's just not his game whatsoever. And he just looked so uncomfortable. And even on those TV cameras on him, and he was on the bench, he had a face like thunder. You know what I mean? He really just didn't look happy at all or anything like that. So obviously that's the fact. He's probably he started against Wolves, and as soon as Isak's come in and he's been dropped straight at the bench, you know, Howie, you don't have to be clever enough to turn around and realise that was always going to be the case, because you're not going to not start your club record signing on the bench when your first choice striker's injured and your other striker isn't even classed as a goal threat. So you know, it was always going to start. But going on to the goal, the second goal that got disallowed, I've got to agree with Pete off what he said about the lines and stuff. And when we saw it in the pub and we were talking, and we were saying, where's all the VAR evidence where they're actually doing the lines live, where they actually draw the lines on, and you can see what point they're marking on and stuff like that. There was nothing. They were just, the commentators talking, had a bit of pictures on the pitch and stuff. And the next thing you know, the game was kicked off. There was nothing to show you how they came to that decision at all. And then all you did after, like, the next time the ball went out of play, they just showed you the picture that everyone's seen online. It was just literally that still of that picture. And every time you look at that, you look at it and go, there's no way he's not offside. He's onside all day long. You can tell by the way you look at, even if you look at his feet, but obviously, I know someone mentioned in the chat before, what are the rules for the offside? I think and Pete, you might clarify this, but I believe it's as long as it can be part of, it's the furthest part of your body that can score a goal, that you can score a goal off, is passes offside for where they draw the VAR line from. So I don't know whether they've obviously looked at, but for me, all day long, there was no, especially when you go back to the Rashford goal against Liverpool a week or so earlier, there was no difference really. It was pretty much a like for like scenario. And I think what really annoyed us when we were in the pub talking about was you didn't see the decision making process. And obviously, when we go back to the show that we did with Keith Hackett last year, when we were having all the VAR decisions against us last year, and he was saying you need to have these referees mic'd up so you can hear the decision making process, what they're lining up talking about, like they're doing, rugby union, rugby league. So then, if you see something come up, you can see where their decision process comes up. Fans would probably understand more if you could hear them saying what they're saying, because just sticking a still up like they did last night doesn't show anything, because everybody can interpret different ways. There was one guy, I think, I don't know if anyone saw it this morning. To be fair, it was really, really early this morning. Some guy had been on all majority of the night, think about it, and he'd actually got, like, when you get like the Google glass on your phone and you literally circle a bit of the picture and you move the picture over, and he moved the lines up from the offside and he moved it to the halfway line, and they weren't even parallel. So you start thinking, so where are they working now the lines off from it? Because obviously, it should technically be that line should be an identical line if you match it up with the halfway line, but it wasn't. So it was, that was something that was to be discussed as well. But I think, we need to see that, the lines getting drawn and all that, and that can clear a lot up. Just putting still up doesn't do anything for me. But as soon as that goal, they got back in it, and I think that goal being disallowed, I think it did kick a bit of stuff out of Newcastle. They've been fantastic up to that point. Obviously, they conceded not long after that, and that sort of changed the game. Newcastle stopped the press, and the momentum changed going. It looked like, realistically, Liverpool were the team that were chasing the win, and everything depended on it. Where they got the 3 minutes extra time on top of the stoppage time, I don't know. I can see parts of both arguments. I've said today. And I know you lads will say this because obviously it's the basics of football. You play at the final whistle regardless. So you look back, you should say, you defend the corner better. But at the same time, it's at least a minimum of 5 minutes. It's not just 5 minutes. You've got to remember it's a minimum of 5 minutes. But you add the Pope stoppage on when I think someone timed it was under a minute or something like that. Yeah. So even if it's like a minimum of 5 minutes, and you can say you add an extra minute on that, you're still under the 97 minutes. So you're still even under 2 minutes there. So then to score in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, you know what I mean? The lads were absolutely phenomenal last night, and I can't fault any of them. But it's such a fucking kick in the teeth, lads. It really, really was. They did not deserve to win that game, and especially the way they went on after the, Eddie Howe stood there in arguments, and I was so proud he was our manager, that the way he went on and conducted himself, because you saw the way that Klopp went on when they were losing, his attitude and stuff like that, and then his attitude when they won as well. And you're thinking, and then obviously the Newcastle bench is the one that's getting investigated by the FA. So
what as well? I think I must have left the stadium at that point. What was it with the players coming off the pitch and all the Liverpool fans booing?
No, they were booing because they thought they were time wasting, and that's why. Look, but that's the reason why they were booing. But the reality is that they're using the fact that they thought we were time wasting as an excuse to mask the fact that their team weren't good. Yeah. And that's the reality of it. Jurgen Klopp doing all this and doing all these fist pumps to the fans. It's just a game against little old Newcastle. But it just shows how big that was for him, because Jurgen Klopp's under pressure. He's under pressure at the moment in time. He hasn't had a good start to the season. His team is pretty much full strength and they are not playing well at the moment. And he knows he's under pressure. And he needed that win more than anything. Probably more than Newcastle United. And that's why he got so frustrated by it. Now, I think we're being investigated because there was a video going about where when the goal went in, one of our backroom staff threw something towards the Liverpool bench. I don't know what it was that they threw, whether it was some paper or something, but they threw and it got caught on camera. So that's why the Newcastle bench is being investigated on the back of that, but nothing else. Eddie Howe is always respectful. He's always that. He always remains calm on the sidelines. That's what he's done for his whole management career. He lets Jason Tindall do the mad stuff. So any of the disagreements that was happening off the back of the game when we were winning and when we were drawing, it was all towards Jason Tindall, because he takes the brunt and allows Eddie Howe to focus on doing what he needs to do, which is coach the team. But look, I'm proud of the boys. The officiating is done as again, but look, the luck will turn around. We will get our luck at some point this season. There's no doubt about it. And I really do hope it's against Liverpool when they come to St. James's Park, because I'd love nothing more to give them an absolute hiding, because they deserve it. I always had a little bit of a dislike for Liverpool over the years, and it kind of like calmed a little bit. But seeing how their fans have been going on, and seeing how their manager and their players have reacted to Newcastle, makes me laugh slightly, because they are massively rattled by us. But equally, for a team that have won so much, you would expect a little bit more dignity and humility and a little bit more respect than that. And I'm not surprised that they didn't.
Just to add as well, Pete, Rich, Daz, whatever, I don't know whether you've ever come across this. I haven't personally, but I was a little disappointed being a Scouser myself. I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed. At the end, when they equalised, I'd say about anywhere between 8 and 12 missiles were thrown from the home section, and literally the stuff that was coming over as well. It was bottles, but it had stuff in it as well. And then there was a fella about 3 or 4 rows in front of me flipping at one of the stewards, saying he either said it's hit someone or it's just missed someone. And I thought, and again, it goes back to what Pete was saying, they were rattled. Like they when that goal went in, you could see the relief on them. And as Pete was saying earlier, they've snuck that game at the end. They've just won it, just managed to win it. But effectively, two youngsters, 2 kids have won them that game. Harvey Elliott in the whole match, and then Carvalho's come on off the bench, and all the big hitters nowhere to be seen.
Salah,
and yeah, that's what I mean.
He was shocking.
Yeah, he just didn't. Yeah. And I think I genuinely, and then as I say, when the players came off, and I seen this after the match because I seen it on social media, all the Liverpool fans booing the Newcastle players, and I was thinking, where's this come from? Like, I've just not seen it, and I thought this is them knowing that their grip on beating us, Newcastle turning up, they'd see, normally in the past they'd see that and go, oh yeah, we'll turn these over, no problem. But it's the fact that we've given them a game and they know we're missing all our best players. They
It is,
know that.
Chris, you're right, because the thing is, though, right, and this isn't just Newcastle. This is pretty much any football club, and we're going back decades here, where time wasting has been a thing, right?
It
And
happens a lot.
You use when you're in a situation where you're up against one of the best teams, not just in the Premier League. You know, you talk about world football here, realistically, right? You will do anything to get a result. So if you're at 1-1 at Anfield, which is technically, you know, even with the best teams, if we had our best team, they had their best team out, you would take a point all day long.
Yeah, away
so,
from home.
you know what I mean? So there's people having a go at Joe Linton for when he took the ball to the corner, just keeping the ball in the corner rather than crossing it. And obviously, if the ball had been taken down well by target, you know, we might got a shot away and we could have been talking about 2-1 Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? I know it's all ifs and buts and stuff like that, but the issue was, I think the funny thing I actually brought a lot of notice there was the complaint about out was time wasting, but out of all of the 49 Premier League games this season,
seen that.
That game last night was the 9th highest for the ball in play.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see how much that time wasting really did. Do you know what I mean? Considering, you know, if I understand if it was the worst, you know, for the amount of time the ball was in play, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? It was a good flowing football game, and they just didn't like it that we had the number for 97 minutes. They just didn't like it, and that's what the problem was.
And time wasting, Rich, you're right. Time wasting, you know, is also called game management. And it makes you wonder, if Liverpool were 2-1 up and they were doing it and we were all going, oh, bloody hell, you know, blah, blah, it'd be like, oh, aren't Liverpool playing a clever game here? Oh, Liverpool are really managing this game well. You know, they're taking the sting out of Newcastle, blah, 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 blah. But then when we do it, going to Anfield, picking up a valuable point with a depleted side, we're time wasting. I mean, I don't know whether you saw it, but when Jordan Henderson come off the field, he went off, then he come back on, then he went off, then he come back on. It was like, I think he took, like, what was it, over a minute to get off the pitch?
Yeah, he was in no rush to get off, anyway, was he?
No.
But the thing is, that, you know, like if you go about the time wasting, not a couple of years ago, right? You know, you would see a goalkeeper catch the ball or whatever, and that would be it. The ball was in the hand, and that was it. But now you see the goalkeepers catch the ball, slowly get down to their knees, and then they go and lie on the ball.
They all do it.
But I'm saying that we were talking like 3-4 years ago. That really wasn't that happened. This is something that's happened more and more recently, and it was the likes of Man City and Liverpool that started bringing this in, and then other teams start to use it against them, and they don't like it because we're playing their game against them, and they don't like it. Full stop. That's the issue with it all. But it is what it is. I don't know if anyone else has seen Luke Edwards' tweet earlier, thinking he's the bee's knees because he said that all Newcastle's permanent business was done. So if you've got a chance, go and have a look at Edwards, thinking he's an absolute smug git, right? Even the pose, he's got like the wink in it, like that, and you think, how man, for fuck's sake, get a life. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if we go all the way back to the start of the window, apparently we were going to spend 50 million. So
I know. But to be fair, do you know what, Chris, you know what? As soon as I saw that tweet, right, I just thought, Eddie Howe shot him down in the press conference the other day. He's going to say that tweet. He's going to go, Dan, let's pull the trigger. Just get someone in just to piss him off.
Imagine.
Did you talk about more outgoings after I got locked out from my broadband? I'm sure you talked about Dubravka.
We didn't actually, did we, Pete?
No.
We didn't speak about Dubravka.
I think that's the only one you didn't talk about. I did hear you were talking about like what's going out and stuff like that and everything. So
yeah. Well, maybe we should bring it up. So
apparently the comment does on Dubravka. Dubravka's made some comments or something on his.
Is that real? That where did that come from? Because that's
someone said the comments from the Chronicle. I know there's been some like dodgy comments, and I don't think he's actually said those. But
I don't think it's something that was said to any Newcastle publication. It might be something that's come from a Manchester publication. I don't know, but
yeah, they're a bit dodgy looking.
I don't. To be fair, I would have thought a professional footballer that would be above having a go at Toon Pulls. To be fair, and
Yeah.
saying it's one of their fault.
Yeah, it's not that one. It's
One
not
of the
that one.
reasons why.
It's
Oh,
not that
that's
one.
a joke. It has to be a joke.
No.
But
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
why did two polls decide to say Nick? But why couldn't it have been Martin Dubravka?
Yeah. So he's gone to Man United for 2 million loan fee and with 6 million permanent if after a number of games apparently. So yep, he's there now. He's gone. Great servant to the club. Came into us initially on loan, and then we purchased him back a number of years ago. But yeah, he's Pope has ousted him from the number one spot. But yeah, it's a pity that he's decided to go to be a backup keeper at Man United. I know we were kind of talking about this a bit during the week, but we thought it was a strange one. But any thoughts, lads?
I think the only interesting bit about it really is the release, the clause that we can recall him in January if there's an injury to Nick Pope or Carl Darlow, for example. I thought that was interesting, and I think in fact it's clever by Newcastle to include that.
Yeah. Yep, it is.
I'm intrigued to know what the clauses are to make it a permanent deal, though.
Yeah,
if he's potentially going to sit on the bench there.
Yeah, it's so many appearances, isn't it? And it's
you start to think how many appearances though, Chris, because
I know.
Do you know what I mean? When you're in number 2, unless someone gets injured, or they might decide to play him in the Champions League, for example, and be the cup goalkeeper or something like that, especially in the group stages, then fair enough. You might
more than 10, can it? Surely.
Don't know.
Surely, because
there's only 13.
He's not going to play in the Premier League.
Yeah, there's only 13 games between now and the World Cup and the break, so I don't know how it works out. We might never know what that clause is unless he comes back.
That's it. I mean, I don't know. I feel a bit mixed on it. I think it's a really weird transfer because Man United haven't committed to getting him, and we haven't committed to getting rid of him. So it's kind of like a weird deal. It's almost like Man United are borrowing him for a little bit, and if they decide to keep him, they can, but they're getting him for a really low price. But at the same time, in January, we could just turn around, we could sell Darlow and go, right, come back. It just feels like an odd move. I mean, I know some people saying, why is he joining Man United? Why is he leaving Newcastle to go to Man United to be a number 2? And I do take that point, but let's not forget, Man United's at this present moment in time, Man United, they've probably. I feel weird saying this, but they're a big club, really, really big club, and for him to be able to say that he's played for Man United, he's probably thinking, well, I wouldn't mind having that on my CV, kind of thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Man United have got some form of European football this season, haven't they? So I'd imagine that Dubravka would play in Europe for them. He's not going to get that opportunity. He'll probably get the odd game in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup for us. So he's probably looking at it and thinking, well, do I want European football or just standard cup football? So he's probably looking at it like that as well. Not to mention, as I say, he's getting the opportunity to compete for the number 1 spot at Man United. So I do get it from his point of view, but I just think the deal itself's really weird. And it was weird. I said a while back that I thought it'd be around 8 million, and it turns out that's exactly what it is. 2 million loan fee, and then 6 million if they make it permanent.
I'm just checking. Did
Slovakia scored?
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sancho.
Yeah, Sancho.
Wow.
I think Rodgers might go if they get beat tonight.
Do you think so?
I think this is. And I mentioned it a while back. I went out with the boys a couple of weeks ago for the AJ fight when they lost to Southampton when Shea scored a couple of goals, and the fans want him out. They want him gone. That was then, and they've lost. Who did they play midweek? No, last weekend. Who did they play? Did they lose to Chelsea?
Was it Arsenal?
Oh, Arsenal. Sorry,
yeah. No, Arsenal was the other week. Who was left?
They did lose. I know that. Saturday or Sunday.
They play
Chelsea. Lost 2-1 at Chelsea, but they lost to 10 men. That was the issue.
That was the one, yeah. Thought we said,
yeah.
so they lost to Chelsea and now at home to Man United. I think that might be that. I'm not being funny. Daniel Amati and Jones at centre back. Oh, that's bottom off. That's bottom off Premier League. I'm sorry.
They brought in the guy today though, from Rems.
They did, and he's okay. He's okay, but when you've got Ward in goal, you haven't got a Kasper Schmeichel putting out wonder saves here and there to keep him in. You remember the FA Cup final when he pulled out a couple of absolute wonder saves to stop Chelsea from winning it? Yeah, he's not even half the goalkeeper that Schmeichel is. They could have done with Dubravka. You've just been talking about Dubravka.
Yeah.
You can understand that from going there.
Yeah, it baffles me. I genuinely believe Leicester will finish bottom half. I do.
So they've sold Fofana for 75 million. But by the looks of it, they've clung on to Maddison and Tielemans, and they've replaced 75 million Fofana with a 15 million centre back. And by the looks of it, I've gone to Rodgers. That's it. You're done.
Tell you what, I'll make a prediction now. 2-0 at half time to Man United. Tielemans comes off. He's up the A1.
That would be
no,
dream.
Sean said it's all done. It's all done. Can't happen now.
Tielemans is all about the money. I think if it wasn't about the money, he'd have gone to Arsenal by now. Arsenal were linked with him all summer. We had a couple of spells, but I think he's doing what Lingard's done. Waited till the contract's out, and he'll get a huge signing on bonus, huge wages, and a team in the Champions League will pay him the money that he wants, and he'll get Champions League football. And I think that's what he's holding out for personally. We're keeping to our structure, and fair play to us. We're sticking to our guns even when decent players are available. You go back to the Chelseas, the Man Cities, they'd have had Tielemans in their squad tonight or last night. They'd have had him by now. But we're going about our business different, and although it can be frustrating because you want the likes of Tielemans in your squad, you almost got to kind of applaud the owners sticking to their guns, and they've got their philosophy in the way they want to run their club, and you can't do anything but respect that. But
What would signing Yuri Tielemans for 25 million and giving him 200 grand a week? What kind of message does that send to the rest of the squad?
It breaks the wage structure first and foremost, which is the key, which is something that they've banged on about for a long time. But I've got a feeling Leicester will try and force Tielemans out in January. Because if they're in the position that I think they're going to be in January, they're going to want to get money for him because they're going to need it. They'll be gone are the days. You look at Leicester's team right now. Apart from Maddison aside, who by next season will only have 1 year left on his contract. Maddison aside, who is there in that team that that Leicester could generate money from?
Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes is one.
That's probably it.
But he's come through the academy, and the Leicester fans would be in uproar if he left. Other than that, there's nobody. Vardy's
the only one who's started to do well is Dewsbury Hall, but you're not going to get I wouldn't say you'd get a tremendous fee for him.
30 max, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny,
what are you thinking on that, boys?
Sorry,
I could see it.
I could.
Yeah,
I could.
He was going to leave us to go there.
Well, at least Perez will be happy.
Yeah. Hey, did you see the rumours about Perez to Spurs? That was earlier on in the day.
Tell you what, if that was true, he's had some lucky moves, mind, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Madness. Absolute madness. But yeah, look, we keep plugging away and doing our bit. Well, what do you think about Palace weekend?
I think we'll win.
Bruno should be back, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he's had his pictures with his boots on this morning, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did you notice that there was a picture of Maxi online before with the oxygen mask that Bruno had the other day? So I wonder if this is going to be like something that goes on going forward. So you have your mask picture, Then you miss a game, you have your boots on, and you know which game is coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
could be that.
Code.
Mate. Could be
I
that.
like it.
Yeah, I reckon Maxi will be back next weekend. Is that West Ham?
West Ham away, yeah.
I reckon he'll be back. He'll be back for that one. But
To be fair, do you know what? I thought Fraser had a good game last night.
Yeah,
He was
In
brilliant.
his place, I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
Brilliant.
I
But
tell you what, though, it was a shame when he went off and Murphy came on, though, because he was appalling.
Oh, mate, I'm
That's what I was just about to say.
I'm done now. I'm done.
we need
How-
Maxi back
How's he not gone out on loan somewhere, did he?
Yeah, I'm done.
because he's got still 5 years left on his deal. That's why.
It's not
That was
That's
a
the only
crazy
reason
result.
why Eddie Howe hasn't let him go. Not because he wants him to stay. It's because they can't get rid of him because he's on
To
decent.
be fair, you
wages.
could turn around and pay 50% of his wages and kick him out the door. Frees up a space for someone. 'Cause I tell you what,
Who's going to pay that? Who's going to pay the other 50 half, or other 50%, the other half of his wages? Who's going to pay it?
He's a lovely
better-
lad.
better
and he
send him
tries
to
very
Villa then.
hard. He's a lovely lad and he tries very hard, but he's just not good enough. You said it, Daz, at the end of squad games. You know, we did the squad games show, and you were like Miggy Murphy, bit like that. Now Miggy's up here for me,
Yeah.
and Murphy's. Unfortunately, every single performance now I've seen from Murphy, his confidence just looks. We keep hearing that Jamal Lewis's confidence is shot. Jacob Murphy's confidence is completely gone. It's just gone.
do you think he's watched Squad Game too much, Chris?
He must have done, mate. He must have done, and he's
We
he's
didn't
not
do a
stepped up
second
to the
one.
plate. No, we didn't. We didn't. Well, we could do it after the window, couldn't we? Said we're going to do it after the
Hey,
window.
we could be doing it
Yeah.
tonight, Jez.
Yeah. Well, actually, funnily enough, that was one of the questions from Mike Gant. Question for the panel: if we don't sign anyone else, can you name your 25-man squad? That was one of the questions. That could take a while, that though, Mike. That could be a one-off show. That one, mate. Also,
It's tough
just to add
because
in,
you've got to take into consideration things like John Joe Shelby, and obviously Kraft's not going to be in the 25-man squad either, because obviously he's going to be out. He could be out all season, so you're not going to put him in the squad. Are you going to put John Joe Shelby for potentially being in for 2 games over Christmas?
I wouldn't bother.
Or would you rather bring him back in January when obviously you're going to start playing around a bit? Because that means you're carrying a squad place for that said 13 games. You're pretty much just someone just in the squad doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? You might as well, that's where that space gets freed up. Well, it doesn't get freed up because of his age, but Elliot Anderson comes in and stays in. Do you know what I mean? And he's going to get game time now because of injuries to Shelby, and he doesn't look out of place when he's come on. He's been doing 10 times better than what Murphy's been doing. He comes on. Same for when Wood comes on. He looks a real attacking threat. And he's only going to benefit from playing with these lads week in, week out and train, like Foden did. He never had to have that load at a Premier League club or a top European club or anything like that. Pep kept him in and around the quality players, playing with Bruno every week, playing with Isak every week, playing with San Maximum and Wilson and Joe Linton, that and Trippier and stuff like that. That's going to work wonders for his game and confidence that he's in and around him every day, and he's getting to play with him in matches. He's not just warming the bench; he's playing. If he was just warming the bench, I can see him going on loan. But the fact he's in and around, he's actually playing in the Premier League games. I think he'll stay all day long now.
He's ahead of Murphy for me.
Oh yeah, all day long.
So when Maxi comes back, what you'll find, or what I expect is that Elliot Anderson comes on before Murphy.
Yeah,
Murphy will get pushed right back. And you know what annoyed me about Murphy more than anything is his lack of effort. His lack of effort to track back, to pressure the defenders. He's one of our fastest players, but the way in which he runs and the way in which he tracks players is so lethargic. It just pisses me off. He'd barely been on the pitch 10 minutes, and we were under the cosh a little bit. And you would expect him, because we lost the ball high up, to be sprinting back like the likes of Isak did, the likes of Willett was doing time and time again throughout the game. And he was just jogging back, and he was putting Target on in a 2-on-1 situation. I'm thinking, hold on a second, you've been on 10 minutes. You should have bags full of energy. These guys have been on 60, 70 minutes and are outrunning you. You've got Willock outrunning him to get back in. Joe Linton the same. And I'm just like, hold on a second. Like, yes, your family are Geordies. Yes, you've got an affiliation to Newcastle. Great. But that should mean that you should be running faster and harder than anyone else for the club because you know what it means to play for the club. He didn't show that last night.
Well, that's it, Pete. If you look at Dan Burn, Elliot Anderson, Newcastle, and Sean Longstaff, all Newcastle fans, and people might have various different thoughts on what Sean Longstaff, but at least he's always trying. At least he might not be the best, the best technical games or whatever, but he always tries. Same with Dan Burn. He's probably not the quickest stuff, but you will know he puts 110%. He puts his body on the line. Same with Elliot Anderson. He comes on. You can see how passionate he is. He's in the short space. Murphy's been here for a while, and he's never pulled up trees since he's been here. You look at his brother as well, and they were saying that his brother was just as good, and he hasn't ever left the Championship really. He came up with Cardiff, but he's proven his levels, the Championship, and I think if we didn't have the ownership structure that we had when we bought him, I don't think we would have bought him, if that makes sense. I think he wouldn't have been on our radar.
No. At the time in which we bought Jacob Murphy, it was very, very well known that Josh Murphy was the better player. And a lot of people, particularly around Norwich fans, were surprised that we brought Jacob Murphy and not Josh Murphy, because Josh Murphy was playing the better football at the time. And I think that's always been something that's hindered Josh Murphy, because I think Josh Murphy then forced his way out. He forced himself a move because Jacob Murphy got his move to Newcastle, so he wanted to force his move out and move away from Norwich. And I think that's hindered his career. I think if we'd have signed Josh Murphy, I think Josh Murphy would have turned out to be a better player for Newcastle. Just my opinion. But there was a lot of talk around that time that we spent 12 million from Jacob Murphy that actually it was a surprise, because everyone was saying, I even remember on Twitter, everyone was saying, why are we not going for Josh Murphy? He's better. So it's an interesting one. He's always been limited. Jacob Murphy, but I'm not being funny. He's the only player that hasn't benefited from Eddie Howe. That tells you everything you need to know. Yeah. You've got so many other players that have made progress under Eddie Howe. So many players. We could go through them all. Jacob Murphy's the one that hasn't.
And did you notice as well, I don't know if you've seen a piece, but did you notice yesterday, Jacob Murphy had come on, was having a shocker down that left. And then when they made the substitution and brought Elliot Anderson on, he brought Murphy over and went, move, you go on the right. And I think that's because he had Trippier behind him, and that's why he put him on the right.
And also as well, you got to think Howe's closer to him on the touchline. To literally to be able to talk him through. Richie will know this as well. When you've got a player that's not as strong, you want them to be as close to you as possible, because you literally talk them through the game because they can't think for themselves. Yeah. Jacob Murphy's that guy. So we had an experience. He had almost the captain on the pitch, vice captain if you want to be technical, on the pitch on that side. But also you had the manager to be able to talk him through. That's not necessarily a good thing. If you're a professional footballer, you've got
that's exactly the same as Lascelles, though, Pete. You look at how much Trippier talks to Lascelles during a game.
He does all the time. He does all the time.
And you're talking about, obviously, we know how good Trippier is. He's captain on the pitch and so on, but he's having to tell the club captain where to be, what to be doing.
To be fair, Lascelles was excellent yesterday.
Yeah, I thought
I've got to say, he was excellent yesterday. He seems to have kicked on again. Look, he's nowhere near starting. I think he knows that. I think it's very clear within the squad where he stands. But I tell you what, I was not full of confidence at all. I thought they're going to really struggle, Dan Burn and Lascelles at the back. I wasn't worried about Dan Burn. I was worried about Lascelles, but he actually surprised me. He was really good at Tranmere, but Tranmere League 2, fine. Like anyone could be good against them. Us boys could play against Tranmere and be decent. But when you're playing against Liverpool at Anfield, I thought he was very, very good. His clearances, I actually thought he was good on the ball. There was quite a lot of one-touch football from him. He didn't keep the ball at his feet very long. He was able to play those little passages of play, what we saw against Forest, where we were playing out of tight positions and playing that one little one-touch football. Chris, you know, because we were talking about it in the stands, the way we were able to play out of positions in tight spaces. He was able to contribute to that because it's almost like he's developed his game. He had a few long passes, a few drills long that worked. And if you watch him in the warm-up and on BT Sport, they actually were showing the players warming up, and he was pinging a couple of balls, long diagonal balls, and he was making them land inch perfect. You're thinking, okay, warm up, can you do it in a game? There's a couple of times he did that, and I thought, you know what, fair play to him. Now he probably won't play on Saturday, and rightly so, because Botman and Shaw are better. They are our first choice, but I have to say, yeah, even though he is talked through the game because he needs to for the reasons you said, Richie, you're absolutely right. But I just think at least he's listening. At least he's listening and putting things right and doing things well. We can't say the same for Jacob Murphy, and that's my biggest frustration with him.
Was your heart in your mouth though? Was it in the first 10-15 minutes when Luis Diaz put him on his arse? Did you see
slipped
that?
over. It wasn't even
Did
that
he
he
slip?
got put on his arse.
Yeah.
He slipped.
It was the opposite end of the pitch, so I didn't.
Yeah.
All I seen was him go like one way. Diaz went the other way, and he just rolled, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is going to keep happening."
He
Did he
just
slip?
slipped. Yeah,
Ah,
it was a
fair
slip.
enough,
It wasn't
fair
that Diaz
enough.
did anything amazing. He didn't. But he slipped, and it allowed him in. But I think it was Byrne that was last ditch, that used his
Byrne
big,
was
long,
superb.
dangly
Byrne
legs
was
with
superb.
benefit that just got him out there. And that's what a centre back pairings all about. You bail out your partner, and yeah, fair play to him.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to say big shout out to Roy Morton. Roy,
Cheers, Roy.
thank you very much for your donation. I know you made it like ages ago at the start of the show, but we started it, mate, and thank you so much. It is most appreciated. And we've got a new member tonight, which is great. Rocky the Cat.
Welcome, Rocky.
Thank you, Rocky. Welcome, mate. Thank you very much. Also, we've got a few questions in the chat, but I wanted to focus on this one because we should get back to transfers. And I just wanted your opinion on this one, boys. Ross Barkley could be a last gasp addition if he'd take a pay-as-you-play. Not necessarily saying he's going to come to Newcastle, but where do you all think Ross Barkley will end up? Because we know that Chelsea have paid his contract off, so surely before 11 o'clock he's going to go somewhere.
Well,
He doesn't need to.
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
Doesn't have to,
He can
Chris.
do it tomorrow or
He
next
can
week or
afterwards.
next month. But I reckon,
yeah, true. Yeah, because he's a free. Yeah, I suppose because he's a free transfer. But you'd think someone would take him anyway. Who do you think will take him?
I reckon he's going to go to Everton, back to Everton, back to his boyhood club. And I'd say he'd be open to that. Whether they need him, I'm not sure.
I don't think they want him.
Yeah,
I don't think many clubs want him.
You look at how Everton have acted at the moment. They've just signed Idrissa Gueye from PSG. They've already bulked up their midfield. I think if they could have had Ross Barkley, which they could have, for a cheap deal, they'd have had him by
they're very
now.
cheap now.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. Interesting.
Yeah, it'll probably play on for a while. He's at this stage he'll wait, and you know how clubs go. Like Barkley will become a rare commodity now in the next couple of days because he's one that can still move. But no, I wouldn't have Newcastle going for him. No, he's back a couple of years ago. Yes, it would have been definitely yes, but no, he's kind of edging towards the Dele Alli kind of mode now. Probably too young.
It wouldn't surprise you if he goes on like a overseas. Like obviously, you wouldn't have expected Dele Alli to go to Turkey, would you? Realistically, when he was talked about 2 years ago, go to PSG, and then 2 years later he's going to Turkey. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's always been taking lessons off Mesut Ozil. Do you know what I mean? It's like type of things.
I forgot about him.
Yeah,
What's
his
he
contract's
doing
been.
now?
He was at
How can I
Fenerbahce,
assist
and they terminated his contract.
Jesus Christ! Honestly, since he left Arsenal, I forgot he even existed as a footballer.
Yeah, and this is the fun fact though, Pete. Did you know that Mesut Ozil is the highest paid footballer of all time?
It's incredible.
Jesus.
Surely not.
Of his wages, apparently, from all these moves and they sign non-fees and everything like that. When you add it all up,
Unreal, man. Unreal. It's like this Aubameyang deal that's been talked about. Aubameyang, there's been pictures of him.
arrived.
Yeah,
he's there.
and you think Arsenal paid to get him out the club. They paid. They let him go on a free, and he's gone to Barcelona. I've got to be honest. I don't know what he's done at Barcelona. Like, I've not been following it. I'll be honest. But Chelsea are now paying a fee for him, and I'm thinking,
and he can't pay for 3 weeks either.
Yeah, because his jaw.
He broke his jaw. His house got burgled.
Oh really? Jesus.
Yeah, he got his jaw broken when his house was burgled.
Christ.
So he can go. I think he can return to non-contact training next week, apparently. So,
that's terrible, man, to hear that. That's awful. But it's just a funny signing. It really, really is. I don't get it, and I think he must be rubbing his hands together, thinking, great, another nice big signing on fee for me, more big wages for me. It's crazy, and Barcelona must be thinking 10 million for that. That'll do.
It's going to be a three-year contract as well. Two plus one option.
Christ.
Isn't Alonso part of that deal?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's 10 million plus Alonso.
Yeah, 10 million plus Alonso. Yeah.
And Arsenal paid him off. So what's Alonso worth? About 15 million?
Arsenal through the years, how many players walked out? Like the contracts went down. They've lost so much in money in that club for ages. They've made good signings this summer, and Arteta has them playing well. But they do have tough games coming up over the next 5 games or so are really tough.
They haven't really paid anyone at the minute. Arsenal.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, look at this from Mag Debates. Didn't know this. Where do you reckon Josh Murphy is?
Oxford, he said. Yeah. Oxford.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's a falling.
And as Pete just said, Josh was the better of the two.
Yeah. Wow.
It just goes to show how luck and transfers and how that can dictate a player's career. Josh Murphy was purely considered the better quality of player at Norwich. He was the better of the two. And
the funny thing is, Pete, it seems to be with that transfer. You can imagine it being a transfer that Joe Kinnear would do, wouldn't you? You'd go down to the Norwich trading ground. He says, "I'm here to get that Murphy lad." He goes, "Which one?" I don't know. Yeah, I'm coming to get Murphy, and they've got, we'll give him the shit one instead.
Yeah, but he's got great.
We paid 12 million for him.
Yeah.
I want to bring up another topic, lads, that I'm not sure you got to it earlier, but Federico Fernandez, he looks like he's going to go on loan as well. There was talk.
Elche,
yeah. And a couple of days ago, there was Stoke, and I saw in somewhere else, potentially Coventry were mentioned as well. But yeah, it looks like he's going to go out on loan. You be sad to see him go, Chris?
I will, mate. Yeah, I've always liked Freddy Fernandez. I think he's been a good servant, an absolute bargain as well. By the way, anywhere between 4 and 6 million. I think he did a great job. One of Rafa's really, really good signings. Oh, was it Rafa? Or was it?
No.
I
thought we paid 10 million for him.
No. There was rumours for that. Yeah, it was between 4 and 6 million, if you believe it. From Swansea, and fantastic signing. I still like him now. I really do. And I think it's a good signing for anyone who gets him. He's probably still got another season and a half in him, I think. But yeah, sad to see him go. But equally, we need to get the numbers down, don't we, boys? And I think we are going with Shaw, Lascelles, Bairn, and Botman, and then Dummett is the 5th choice. So really, we don't need Freddy, do we? So yeah, one of them, I'm afraid. But good servants, and I was a fan of him.
Cool.
Yeah. I didn't realise he had another year on his contract. I thought his contract ran out in the summer.
I wasn't too sure, to be fair.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Check it out here.
But no, he's got another year.
He must have. Yeah, he must have.
They said he's got another year, which is why he's going on loan for a season. A little bit like Clark.
He's got to the end of this season.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's about time. We need to move forward. Wages off the wage bill, all the rest of it. If it adds to what we can spend in January, I'm all for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Did you see that Keith Downey's literally sent a tweet out a minute ago?
Yeah.
Oh, God, what is it, Birch?
115 million spent this window by Newcastle United, with 4 new signings strengthening the starting 11, smashing a transfer record for Alexander Isak, the jewel in the crown. A lot of people are presuming that's us done and dusted now with him putting that out. Still doesn't mean we're not going to do something that's a loan deal, as I know, as we keep saying that can be done at any time, pretty much up till 11 o'clock. They're easy to do, but it sort of rules out any possible permanent transfers coming in for sure.
Nothing permanent's happening now. No way.
Again, it goes back to what we were saying, doesn't it? If it's the right player, right price, right time, I'm sure we'd do it. And obviously, there's players out there that maybe we were after and they've not come to fruition, so the club have gone right out. We might take a risk on a loan, but we're not signing anyone permanently because the players we want aren't available.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Did you talk about Isak's performance at all earlier on? I didn't catch all the first hour, just to get everyone's opinion on how good he was last night.
We didn't focus on him directly, Rich. So kick us off, mate.
I just thought he was absolutely immense. How calm he looked for that. His first goal was just impeccable finishing. First touch lifted over so calmly, with pace as well. It wasn't just like a chip. It was, it was a hell of a finish. I was sitting next to Martin's brother-in-law, who's a Liverpool fan, and he was raving about the finish. He just thought it was an absolutely phenomenal finish. But even he's pressing, leading the line, putting the pressure on Van Dijk and Gomez. I didn't think Gomez looked settled at all last night, and I think if he could have probably worked on him a little bit, but you go for the goal that was disallowed, and there's a lot of times you think, I think it's because of probably the sort of forwards we've been used to watching over recent years. You see him running down towards the byline when he's in the box, and you think you're running into just a dead end. Where are you going? Then all of a sudden you see these 2 calm, collected cutbacks. One that leaves a defender on his arse. And he comes inside, and then, as Martin's brother-in-law said, you've got to remember Alisson's one of the best one-on-one goalkeepers in the world, not just the Premier League, the world. And the second finish was even better than the first. Yeah. And Alisson was nowhere near either of them. He's just got this cool, calm, he's going to be, seriously, he's just different class. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there who might not have seen as much of him. Go back and watch the December Hunter comments, what we put on last week about him when we obviously found out was it. And she said he'd be perfect for Newcastle, the way that Eddie Howe wants to play. He's just phenomenal. And, seeing your talk sport pundits, the strikers saying, he's not like your Erling Haaland, but he's the next level down from there, and he's going to be a huge success. And I said to Martin last night, he's got that monkey off his back by scoring on his debut at Liverpool. You've been marked up against Van Dijk, one of the best centre halves in the world. You couldn't, but apart from obviously getting to sort out the game, on a personal note, that was probably one of the best what you could probably hope for, best debut for a team. And obviously now he's got to take that to get a home debut on Saturday, and he can, gain that extra confidence of what he did last night for that 65, 70 minutes last night. He was just phenomenal. I don't know what you thought, Pete.
Yeah, I have to agree. I remember saying when he signed, I could see Alexander Isak playing more than Callum Wilson, and I think last night proved it. For me, I love Callum Wilson. You guys know how I feel about him as a striker. He's a top striker. But when you've got someone who's 22 years old, that's just as fast as Callum Wilson, that is better in the link-up play than Callum Wilson, and he's a better finisher than Callum Wilson, you have got a better player there. And he showed everything of those 3 aspects last night. He was brilliant. He pressed, he ran, he led the line better than I've seen a lot of players lead the line. Now, if you look at, particularly in the first half, there were long spells of that first half where Alexander Isak was so far away from the rest of his team in terms of how far he was separated from his midfield, but it didn't matter. He was pressing Gomez. Gomez was not good, by the way. Isaac made him look dreadful. He had a torrid time as the right centre back, and even Van Dijk struggled. He struggled with Almiron. He struggled with Isaac. They were not on their game at all, and we made them that way. Now, for me, Alexander Isaac, the one thing I noticed about him is that he's got such power on his shots. He hits the ball with so much ferocity. He is a natural finisher. Like, if you look at Callum Wilson's finishes, a lot of flicks, a lot of places, a lot of stuff inside the box. Alexander Isak can finish inside the box, outside the box. It doesn't matter. He can put the ball away, however, but it puts it away with pace, with power. And he proved that last night. The way he finished that chance was unbelievable. It's a fantastic finish. You've got so much confidence in him. And I felt as the game went on, everyone in the team felt more and more confident with him in the team. I also noticed there was a real connection there with him and Willock. Him and Willock have already sparked up an understanding, whether it's a friendship or whether.
Did you see that at the start of the game, Pete, when they were doing the, like the shake hands and stuff? You could see Isaac, you could see at the start, like he was winking and they were like hugging, but you could see that friendship. I agree. You could see it.
I noticed it when he scored. Like, Willock was the first one to him, and he waited for him, and the way they embraced was more than he embraced with any other player. They've got a connection already, which is good for Willock. They've got an understanding, and I think
and Trippier.
He did it at half time as well when he came back out.
Half time,
back out at half time. But I'm not. It's actually quite, for me, I think it's actually clever thinking by Willock, because if you look at that midfield three, he's potentially the one who's there or thereabouts would be replaced if someone was likely to come in. If he can strike up a really good relationship and rapport with Isak on and off the pitch, it sort of tries to solidify him in that midfield three, if that makes sense as well. If he can have that connection, if they're working and training on layoffs or, balls into feet and stuff like that, Eddie Howe's going to see that, and it's going to put it like propel him a bit higher than like Longstaff. It's not going to be, between Willock and Longstaff. It's going to be Willock, and then Longstaff comes in if there's an injury sort of thing. I think it's really, really clever by Willock. If he's done that for his own back, he's looking after himself there, as well as nurturing the club record signing as well. Yeah,
no, I agree, Rich. I think it's good when certain players strike up relationships. I mean, we saw, didn't we? And I think, Pete, it was you that highlighted it, the relationship between Bruno and Maxi. That was evident at the very start. And these players, when they have those links and, they communicate more outside the pitch, I think it's a good thing. I mentioned about the relationship between Isaac and Trippier. You can see that as well. Maybe it's a La Liga thing. I don't know. Obviously, they will have come across each other in La Liga. But with Isaac, it was just interesting to see how comfortable he looked. That didn't look like his debut. It looked like he played 10, 20, 30 games for Newcastle. And it certainly bodes well. And, we discussed this months ago, didn't we, lads, saying, we were looking for a young understudy to Callum Wilson, somebody who, could be there when Callum Wilson's out. And then and I think it was Pete who said it last week or the week before, because the trust has been put by Eddie Howe in Callum Wilson, and Callum Wilson's got injured again, somebody has pushed the button and gone, do you know what, we need a replacement. We need somebody in who's going to challenge or possibly be better than Callum Wilson. And I think that's what we've brought in now. I think that position now is got to be won back by Callum Wilson, because I think Isaac, based on what we've seen, is going to be the main man going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to keep you updated, you were saying about Dendoncker before, Pete. Looks like Wolves have got their replacement. They've agreed a deal with for Debauchery, $9.5 million. It's a lower than $9.5 million option to buy. I think that's quite a good figure for him, mind.
Yeah, it's not bad, not a bad figure there, but the Dendoncker would have been good for us. in terms of what we needed for that sort of.
I was surprised by when we got linked at the weekend with Dendoncker and the amount of Wolves fans that would turn around saying he's not good. I would have been interested to hear little Dan's point of view on his viewpoints on Dendoncker.
Yeah.
But you got to remember Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe can improve players. It's very, very clear that Bruno Lage doesn't want to improve players. He just wants improved players to be brought in. And there's a difference between a manager buying players in to improve the squad and a manager coaching players to be better. Dendoncker, when he came in, was a very, very good player. Like Dendoncker was one of the reasons why they got European football at the beginning. So he's gone from European football and then they've drifted and then dropped as a club. That's not on Dendoncker. That's on everything else in and around him. For me, I think he's a good player and I think he could do a really good job. And I think it's probably the right time for a fresh move. I just didn't want it to be to Villa. I don't want him strengthening Villa's team whatsoever. Hold on.
Come on, come on.
There's a link in here, right? So Chelsea and Juventus have signed the contracts for Denis Zakaria. So that's from Fabrizio Romano. But so that leaves the door open now for the potential for Conor Gallagher. So you imagine if there was something going to happen, it would be happening in the background, and that's done. So yeah.
Quick question for you boys. Let's say Conor Gallagher comes through the door. Does Conor Gallagher play as the 6 or the 8?
8 for me. But in the last game, and we've just been talking about Joe Willock, he's played really well. So yeah, but it's a good option to have when we mix and match and just off the bench and injuries and so on and he can play. But yeah, 8 for me.
You have to remember, Conor Gallagher scored. He scored between 8 and 10 goals last season.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive
from that similar position. Like that's the kind of they're the kind of goal scoring stats that we want Joe Willock to get. And I know he got them in his loan spell when he was there from Arsenal, but you know that was very much a kind of like a standout moment. But over the course of a season, Conor Gallagher proved at Palace that he could score goals from that 8 position. His ability to press, his ability to win the ball high up, he's good on the ball. He can score a goal from distance or in and around the box. He is what you need as a number 8, and he would be a really good addition, providing that he was coming in knowing that he was going to play regular football. And I think he would test Joe Willock. He would either make Joe Willock better or not. But equally, if we got Conor Gallagher in there, I think Conor Gallagher would be in a position where he could score goals for us and improve our midfield. So let's see. It's there's still a little bit of time, but let's see.
Would you boys have took him?
Yeah, I would have taken him as well. I know he didn't play much for Roma when he went there last. But yeah, I think it would have been an option. But sorry, I was just going to go back to Conor Gallagher and just link it to Chelsea. Whatever about us filling out a 25-man squad, Chelsea are going to have some job picking their 25-man squad. How many do they have to choose from? It's ridiculous.
But the thing is, though, as well, Daz, the other thing is, you know, we're saying about Zakaria coming in. Who's to say that they'll actually let Gallagher go? You know,
I know.
There's also the point that you've got, you know, Pulisic, for example, you know, because obviously they're bringing Aubameyang in, or does that free up Roja to become available? Do you know what I mean? There's bringing up Aubameyang in and Zakaria. It frees up potential. You know, there's these people who are on the fringes of the first team squad for, you know, Pulisic. He needs to be playing first team football with the World Cup for the US national team. You know, he has to be. So, you know, if Conor Gallagher is going to be in and around the Chelsea team, you know, that it may affect his England chance for the World Cup. But to be fair, he's only just got into the England squad at the minute. You know what I mean? He hasn't been, you know, like a long-standing member of that squad. So would he make the final 23 or whatever it is when it gets around to it in November anyway? But I don't know. Who would you prefer? Would you all want Gallagher? Do you think they need in midfield, or would you go for someone like Pulisic? Because obviously we've highlighted how bad Murphy is, and you haven't really got a backup on that right-hand side. Obviously, we know that Fraser can play either flank, but obviously, if you lose Miggy and we've lost Maxi, you haven't really got anything there as such. And I mean, you've got Fraser, and then you rely pretty much really on Elliot Anderson to play out there. And to me, he's not really a wide forward. He's more of a central, number 10 type player. So I don't know what do you think? What do you guys think?
I think if we had the option of where we'd improve the team, I think it would be in the wing areas, either left or right, predominantly right, because I think Fraser is more of a left winger, as you said. I think Fraser is a backup to Anderson Maximin, but what you'd either want a first choice right winger, and Moussa Diaby was that talk in the summer window. Then it was Maddison as a potential to play that position as a starter. But I think as the season's gone on, I think the way in which Miggy's been playing, you wouldn't then have minded a backup to Miggy, to have someone in there like a Lucas Moura. If he came in, he could be a starter or a backup to Miggy and be another option that was much better than Jacob Murphy. So I think if we had the option, it would be that. But actually, I think after Sunday at Molineux, what it proved is that when Bruno's not in the team, we do lose a lot of what our midfield is about. Yeah. And yes, it wasn't shown too much at Anfield, but in games like, for example, Saturday, which is why I think Bruno Guimaraes is so important for Newcastle United, we need him back on Saturday. The reason being is because we're not playing Liverpool on Saturday. We're not playing a team that are going to dominate possession and pushes and pushes and pushes where we can hit them on the counter-attack. At times, Palace are going to sit in deep. They did it at Anfield and did it really, really well and end up getting a point. So we need a midfielder that is not all action, press the ball high, which Bruno can do. We need Bruno to be the guy that's going to unlock Palace's defence with a ball splitting pass or a pass that's going to create an opportunity or someone that's going to get a goal. Do I think Longstaff's that guy? Probably not in this type of game where a team is going to set up really defensively. He got the assist against Liverpool, but Liverpool were very much an attacking team. This Palace team will sit in and try and soak up the pressure to hit us on the break. And I think you need a certain level of quality to be able to do that. And that's where I think Bruno becomes more important. If you've got Conor Gallagher, you then have got someone that can score from distance. You've got someone that's combative. You've got someone that can arrive in the box. You've got someone that can do that job better than maybe someone like Sean Longstaff. That's just my opinion.
Quick question for you boys. Just that quick one because I've just seen it flashed up on Sky Sports News. Would any of you have taken Dan James on loan from Leeds?
He's better than Murphy.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I'd just took him on loan.
That's a strange one, Chris, because he was linked to Spurs as well there for a time. So that is strange.
I bet it's a good signing for Fulham. Good signing.
Yeah, it is a good sign. Yeah. And getting away from your question, Chris, but the other one from Chelsea was Zidic. He's still there as well. He's still there. So there's plenty of players there.
All these players are mega money and they're not getting the game. It's crazy.
Madness. It really is.
Pete, I want to ask you because I know we covered this guy in the transfer in the Fulham transfer shows, Bamba Dieng. What did you make of his scenario this afternoon? I don't know whether you actually heard about it. But he was all set to get on the plane to Leeds for a deal. And literally as he's getting on the plane, Nice put an offer in for him and he decided to go to Nice.
So they're waiting for him at the airport and he's not.
I'm not surprised. Honestly, these guys will go they'll either go where the money is or they'll go where they feel comfortable. And staying in France is comfortable for him. I think if there was a choice between Newcastle and Nice, I think it'd come to St. James's Park. Personally, but I that's just my opinion. I just think yeah, you get certain players that are either chase the money or chase the status of the club that they're going to. Now, in this country, Leeds' status is still up here in terms of them as a club. But to people outside of England, Leeds' status is down there. Leeds' status is of a status of a newly promoted side, a little bit like Forest. And that's where it's a little bit different. So am I surprised? Not really. If that's the case and he's chose to stay at Nice, and Nice are not a bad team, to be fair. They're always fighting at the top end of the Premier of League 1, compared to Leeds that are fighting at the bottom end or the bottom half of the Premier League. Now they've had a good season, but is that going to last? Let's wait and see. But Bam Dieng is going to be wanting to be part of a team that's playing regularly at the highest level. He's going to want to have opportunities to score goals. Now, you've got Bamford up there. Okay, Rodrigo's got injured, but you've got Bamford as another option, and you've got one or two others as another option, which means that he might not play all the time. And that might be part of his thinking. If he got offered Nice and said, right, you're going to play every week for us, you're going to be the main man, maybe that's why he chose to go there.
Can I come in on that question, Chris? Just about do the panel think we'll go back in for players in the next few minutes? One I wanted to mention is João Pedro, because there was it last night or the night before, I can't remember. I was watching Watford play Borough, and they were playing in I think it was a 100-year anniversary kit, but it was black and white, so it looked very similar to Newcastle. But I know it's in the Championship, but he played really, really well actually. Got one assist and for Sarr, and he also he should have got another assist because he did all the work and they didn't finish it. But he looks really good actually. Now that I'm paying attention to him, let's say, so I wouldn't mind if we did go back for him in January.
Could be where the money.
I think there's a few. You can, if the interest in Tielemans has been genuine or not. I know he's going to have an option to, start to talk to overseas clubs and stuff like that. But he might not get any offers that are good enough that for him, that are potentially overseas. And if he can see if Newcastle continue doing as well as how they've started so far, and it looking good for the second half of the season, because obviously one of the talk was when Rob Dorset was on Sky earlier on, he'd said that Newcastle really wasn't an option for him because they couldn't offer him European football or Champions League football. That's what he wants this time in his career. Who's to say we're not in the mix for European football in January? To bring him in and say, look, let's kick on. You can see what we've done in the space of 14 months with Eddie Howe there. So you could do that argument now with him. You look at the performances we've had the first 5 games of the season. You could do that now. But obviously, when you get to January, it might be a little bit easier. If you're in this similar position or higher and better, and you've been playing better teams and getting good results, it's an easier sell to people like that who haven't got, a particularly good history of Premier League football. His history of Premier League football might be 5 to 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And not thinking how, you go back to the 90s and then obviously it's the Bobby Robson time and stuff. So be interesting. But yeah, we've said before, we're not afraid to leave someone to the window after. They're prepared to walk away from the Isak deal at the start of the summer, and they only went back in because they lowered the demands, and so they could pull the trigger on the deal now rather than January.
Oh, is this the breaking news?
No, it's not great news. It's from Pete Graves' tweet there 55 seconds ago. In UFC, with a handful of plates spinning earlier today, but unable to make breakthroughs thus far and looking unlikely now, they are very happy with the business overall. Will post my reflections on Instagram on my walk home shortly. So if there was something happening, Pete, it'd stay in the office, I think. So it looks like it's done.
Yeah. It's been a good window, boys. Broke our transfer record. Yeah. I'd rather have signed the right players than just sign anyone. No offense, to be honest.
You've got to look at how much. You've got to look at this. This has been the best 2 windows we've had in 14 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Beggars can't be choosers because we haven't got someone in on deadline day. I know there's all this big furore over deadline day and all of the action, and Newcastle haven't been there for the last 15 years. But you've got to actually look. We've done some really good business in January and this month so far. So it's not like we're sitting here going, "Oh, didn't get anyone deadline day," or we've scraped a lot to try and get Hamza Chowdhury over the line or whatever. there's still a few people on Twitter going, I can't believe we've got nobody in today, and then just not realising where we are in the space of 12 months. It's just shocking.
Yeah, and it's not for the want of trying, is it? It's not for the want of trying.
I said to you guys on I think on the Fully Transfer show, I mentioned that there seems to be an expectation from Newcastle fans this summer that we're going to go out and sign 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players, a little bit like Forest, but maybe not as much as Forest, and that's all well and good early on, but what you're going to find is in the future windows, and this might be something that we need to get used to as fans, is that Newcastle United are going to go out and sign 4, 5, 6, 7 players and have that type of turnover. We've needed it in January in this summer because we needed to freshen up the squad, and there's a lot of players that needed to move on to bring better players in. What you're going to find is that in January, we might only sign 1 or 2. In the next summer, we might only sign 2 or 3 in the whole summer. And what you're going to find is those players are going to be quality and they're going to really improve the squad or the team. But other teams are going to go out and maybe sign 3, 4, 5 players. Why? Because they're going to need to, because they're really going to improve the squad. But we're not going to be in that position. You look at Man City. Man City have signed 3 or 4 players, but they had to wait 2 years to sign Erling Haaland. And look what he's done since there. Sometimes we're going to have to be patient in order to get the right players, like you boys have mentioned. And I think, there's going to need to be a realization that there has to be a little bit of patience at some point.
So the perfect example of that, Pete, right, is they waited 2 years to get the right number 9 striker, but everyone keeps forgetting that they also blew 100 million on Jack Grealish, who has not done anything since he's went there.
Exactly. So it's not always the good thing in terms of splashing a lot of money. Now we've spent 50 million on 58 million, should I say, on Alexander Isak, and I think he'll be probably some of the best business we've done as a club, because I think he's going to come in and score a shed load of goals. But like you said, Grealish, not great money. They were willing to sell Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva's been an absolute revelation this season since he's come in the team at Man City. And sometimes it's about going with what you know. So, yeah, we could have gone and bought another right winger today. We could have bought Lucas Moura. But the way which Miggy's playing, you're probably going to want to see what Miggy's going to do in the games to come, and to see if he's actually going to make those improvements and not just put performances in, but put goals and assists to his performances. Let's see how he works out that way. And sometimes that can work out 10 times better than just going out and buying a player to replace a player.
Tell you what, I think I know that in the chat we're saying possibly right round the show. I want to ask one last question. It's a fun question, right? And all you've got to do is give one name. And it's because of a conversation that Martin had with his brother-in-law last night. He reckons that Alexander Isak will score more goals than Mo Salah this year. Do you agree?
Ooh. This year?
Yeah, this season.
This season. Right, okay.
Martin thinks he will.
That's a tough one. But
I'm
going to say no.
Question.
No, Mo Salah will score more.
Chris?
Do you know what, mate? It's a great question because, like I said, earlier on in the show, the last 4 games I've seen from Salah, he doesn't look at it. He really, really doesn't. Who would have thought if you'd have said to someone, say you had the blindfold on and your headphones in all day, and you went, "Oh, Liverpool have just beat Bournemouth 9-0," and then you go, "How many of those were scored by Salah? How many of those were assisted by Salah?" And
I did that.
Nothing. If you'd have said nothing, you'd have gone, "Nah, you're a liar. It's impossible."
I know. Imagine having him captain your fantasy football team, and you see Haaland scoring a hat trick in the same.
Tell you what, I'm gonna say, because we're bouncing and because we're buzzing and because of what I saw last night, I'm gonna say Isak. I'm gonna say Isak. Is this just Premier League goals, by the way?
Yeah, Premier League goals. Yeah,
Premier League goals.
Pete's on the fence.
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a great question.
I don't think Salah's going to have a great season.
No.
I thought that from early on. I don't think he's going to have a great season. I think it's going to be close between those two. Oh God, let's go Isak. Why not? Why not?
What did you
No.
say, Richie?
I think Isak will as well, to be fair. I was that impressed with him last night. I was really, really impressed with him last night. If he can do that to,
He's only one
to
goal ahead of
Liverpool's
him,
back
though.
line on his debut when he doesn't even have any really built-in chemistry with his teammates yet and hardly trained with them, what's he going to be able to do when he's on the same wavelength as them every single week?
With Maxi and Bruno.
Yeah.
What was just before we finish? What was really interesting about that goal, and we didn't talk about it. Sorry, got hiccups. Is that run that he made to score was the same run that he could have made if he was playing on the right hand side of midfield. So that run that he made in between the centre back and the two centre backs is the same type of run that he could have made if he was playing in Miggy's position, in comparison to being the main striker. So regardless of whether Callum Wilson comes back in, he could still make that run and still score the goals, which fills me with a hell of a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
That's far as signed Serge Aurier as a free agent. How many did they sign?
God.
Who?
Serge Aurier.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got Nico Williams.
Yeah. Oh God, Serge Aurier.
It's
Right, lads,
just crazy. They could be Batshuayi as well, apparently.
Yeah,
they're close.
We round our transfer window off, and with just who we got. We got Matt Targett from Villa for 12 million, Nick Pope from Burnley for 10 million, Sven Botman from Lille for 35 million, and a few youth development players in Jordan Hackett, Charlie MacArthur from Kilmarnock, Alex Murphy from Galway United, Jude Smith from East Fife. East Fife massive member from the music show we had a long time ago, Load of Football Weekly.
Yeah.
Who was the guy's name again? Can I think of him now?
Oh, Phil Charletta.
Yeah, Phil Charletta. That was it. Yeah, that's his club. And the big one, Alexander Isak, for 58 to 63 million. So a decent window, and all our fully loaded transfer shows are along the way as well. So I think we kept people entertained right through the summer, at least.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. Is right.
Yeah.
As soon as we go off something to break, but if it does, we'll jump back on again. We'll set up another quick show as well.
I just want to say, just before, obviously, massive thanks to Kamal, 199 super sticker. But I just want to say just a massive thank you to everyone that has come on the transfer shows over the last 12, 13 weeks. You know, Jordan, obviously, and Lee especially. The likes of Graham Bailey, Semra Hunter, we've got Simon Bird, Pete Graves. We could go through the list. There's been so many that have come on and jumped on. Dom Scurr as well. Charlie Bennett. We could carry on. Those shows have really, really kind of made our summer, really. And it's kept us going. It's kept us informed. Those guys as well have kept us in the loop, not with kind of in the know stuff, but also from a factual point of view, from their journalism experience and what their contacts are and what they know. So massive thanks to all of those guys that have come and contributed on the channel. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Go on, do some housekeeping then, Daz.
Sorry?
Do some housekeeping.
Oh, yeah. I always forget this bit. I wanna press that breaking news button one more time before we go off, but maybe it won't be tonight. But yeah, shout out to shyburns.com and the range that Simon has available. Simon was in the chat area. His t-shirts and hats with a contribution going towards mental health, and also there are the loaded range. There is the loaded t-shirt number 1 in a variety of different colors, and loaded t-shirt number 2 with Pete's famous line. Here it is. Here's the t-shirt, the Brazil one. Everyone's going to want this for the World Cup when you're shouting on Brazil for the World Cup, like me. There we go.
What's that child, isn't he, lad?
He's a lot to do. A lot to do to get
He
into it.
does.
Shut up, man.
Here we go. But yeah, lovely colors of t-shirts, and of course there's the loaded mug and bottle as well. Also a shout out to Pins and Prints and the range from Dean, which everyone is probably sick of looking at these pictures at this stage, but there should be new ones out by now. I hope there is. Also to Marty and Machine House, and we have to get Marty on now. The transfer window's over, so it'd be good to see him. We've been chatting to him for loads of times. We must get him on and do giveaways as well, and the range he has available, and the hoodies and the t-shirts. So check that out if you haven't done so already. And there is also there's a discount code as well for Shy Barnes, Machine House, and Pins and Prints. 10% discount when you use the code LOADEDMAG. That seems to be it, lads. We will be back in the next. It could be tomorrow. It could be the day after. No idea, but we'll be back sometime soon.
Away days. Away days. I've just had confirmation that we can run an away days tomorrow night.
Oh, lovely. Cool.
For the Palace game, 7:30. And it's with D from Back of the Nest, if I'm right in thinking. Back of the Nest. Yeah. I think it might actually be T from the United States. I think we had him on the last time round. He was really, really good guest. So just confirmed that, just confirmed in the last hour that they can make it. So, stick around for a little bit of away days tomorrow night.
Okay.
Big shout out to Mike. Thank you very much for the donation, Mike. Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Mike. Thanks for that. And you know what, Pete, while you're talking about it, I'll just quickly upload the picture because I predicted that that's who the away day guest would be, and have the posters, like the many posters I did this summer that nobody ever got to see. I could do a show on the posters no one ever got to see. Well, here's the one for Back of the Nest for tomorrow night. So what time, Pete, did you say?
7:30.
7:30. Start.
Cool. I'd set that up tomorrow. Lovely. That is it, I think, lads. As we said, if something happens, we'll jump back on. We'll spin up a show, and we'll be back on. Chris has to go stuff his face, I think, and so yeah, we'll go. Someone does. Someone's talking about.
I need the lads arm, mate.
I've got some food. I've got food I need to munch right now, anyway. So yeah,
be great. No, right. So we'll bring it to a close. Thanks everyone for joining us, not just tonight, but as we said already, and we will be back soon. So we'll play out with the How tune. Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. How. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night.